It's so hot.
Warning. The views in this program are based on the opinions of hosts and guests. We try to find common ground in very uncommon and sometimes uncomfortable topics. This show is not one-sided, not political. It's merely an avenue to come together to look at facts and use the experts in their fields of study. It's okay to disagree, so sit back, grab a beverage of your choice, and let's have a conversation.
I got a phone call of what was going on when the first plane hit.
I remember that moment clear as day.
I remember the exact spot where I was when I got the phone call.
My mom came running in to wake me up.
Watching the TV. I was getting ready for work.
Listening to the events as they were unfolding.
Oh my God, I think something is happening.
The first plane hit.
The first plane hit the tower.
The other plane hit the second tower.
I will never forget.
I will never forget.
I will never forget. Oh, wow, it cut off like that. That's weird.
I didn't make it. I thought that still every time I see that, it like
makes you tear up.
Kinda.
Sorry about that.
You're really not.
I won't. No, I'm really not. Well, welcome everybody to Coffee Table Chronicles.
Welcome.
It is Friday, September 10th. You know what that means?
It's Friday, September 10th.
I knew you were going to say that. Fucking smart ass.
Because you've been with me too long.
I know.
I'm sorry.
So we are streaming tonight for the first time on YouTube and on Rumble. And I see we got one viewer on YouTube. I guess that's better than zero.
One viewer on YouTube and Dad on Rumble.
You need to blast it out and say that we're on.
I have. Okay. Nobody likes me that much.
I don't know why.
I'm adorable.
Sucks. Anyway, we got a great show for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking about the 20th anniversary of September 11th. The kind of great show on September 11th don't go hand in hand, I guess, but you know, we'll see. Really. We'll see what happens.
We have an interesting show.
I like that. That's better. So, want to introduce you to our guest tonight. First in studio, we have Mr. Shane Henning, the Goat Master himself.
Yes. Hello. Good evening.
Shane and I go back a while.
Just a little bit.
2012, right? I believe it was when we started.
No, it's
or 2010.
Probably 2010. It's a long time ago.
Yeah. So.
Wow, you put up with Keith that long?
Yeah,
it's a miracle.
I'm sorry. That's because you didn't deal with him all the time, huh?
That's true. That is true.
I was there for a while. It was almost all the time.
For real.
Pretty much. It was at least every weekend.
Yeah.
So, and then also joining us via stream is
from Mr. I don't even know where he's at.
Oh, that's bad.
An undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location somewhere inside the U.S.
Or not.
Mr.
Maybe,
Eric Russell.
Maybe we're not allowed to know.
Hey.
What's up,
What's
man?
going on?
So where are you actually?
So I'm in Bethesda, Maryland. So basically I'm less than a mile away from Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, and then 2 miles away from Washington, D.C. So
cool.
Kind of like right smack dab in the middle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on.
We should
Very
probably
cool.
should have asked him that before he came on.
Probably.
Oh,
We don't prepare very well.
not
sorry.
at all.
Yeah.
Hey, we asked him on,
We did.
so we prepared.
So, and I had a couple of reasons for having you guys on. Eric obviously is in the military now, and Shane was in the military, and I figured it would be fitting for tonight's conversation. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us. It's I really appreciate it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah. So we usually kick off the show with some current events, which God knows is a lot to talk about, but we're only gonna hit on a few tonight.
I don't even know what you pulled up.
You don't even know. It's a surprise every time.
Crap.
Dun, dun, dun. So we got top stories. So President Biden pushes vaccine mandates on companies with 100+ employees. He's running that through OSHA. Using it.
Has OSHA approved it yet?
I don't know. I don't know if.
Or is
I
he-
read today that they haven't yet.
They
They're
haven't
going
yet.
to in the next few weeks.
Of course they are, because why would they not give in with everybody else?
And then I read today that inflation at the wholesale level has climbed 8.3% in August. Surprise, surprise, right?
Buy some more chickens.
Shocking. What's that?
Told Shane to buy some more chickens.
Right. More evidence has come out recently that Fauci was caught lying to Congress about gain of function research, which we all kind of figured that was going to happen. And some local news: Arizona, it is now legal to bet on sports here.
Woohoo!
So
That's all we need is a bunch of rednecks drinking beer in 120-degree weather,
hey, Shane
betting on
takes
sports.
offense to that.
That's all we need.
That's offensive.
Buy some more chickens.
So kind of go around the room. So I'll start with Shane because Shane's right next to me here. So how you been, man? Anything new? Anything exciting besides chickens? I mean,
No, just working on the farm, working at work. That's pretty much it. Remodeled the bathroom and bedroom this year. Still working on that. Chores and all that fun stuff. So
exciting. We'll talk about your donkeys later. Oh, not your donkeys.
I don't have a donkey
You're-
yet.
He's one-eyed. Don't even say that. If the wife is listening, she's going to get ideas.
Yeah, that's true. That's
No,
true.
I already
More.
owe one donkey because when we got the horse, they had donkeys because we got it from the Bureau of Land Management.
Okay.
And Ezzy saw one, so I promised her I'd buy her one.
I thought you had a donkey once before, but maybe not.
No, have
Okay.
not got a donkey
Okay.
yet.
You got goats. I know that.
I
so-
do have goats.
You are not bringing any home.
Sorry.
I'll just drop one off for you.
Right. Just bring it. Just bring it with the fireplace.
If
stuff.
he drops off a goat, I get 2 Great Danes.
Oh shit! Don't leave your goats there. I'll come visit.
Just putting that out
What's
there
2
now.
goats getting?
Everybody can hear that. 4 Great Danes.
Stop it.
One
See?
goat, 2 Great
Where-
Danes.
Hey, this is how this worked.
Where's the
mute button,
my
damn it?
wife, every 3 goats got her a horse.
See?
Hey, trust me, you're gonna lose at this deal, dude.
I was gonna say that's not a
So
bargaining chip.
don't bring home any goats or I get 2 Great Danes. Actually, when are you going to bring the goat by?
Stop it.
I
So-
could use some Great Danes.
So Eric, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Just before the show, I was telling you, so I finished up my first year of medical school, and then I'm kind of finishing up my last kind of like the instructional block, in classrooms and stuff, and then I'll be going off and actually being in the hospitals for the next year, starting in January. So yeah, excited for that. Just kind of getting in the mental state for getting harassed by doctors every day, and trying
Verbally
to
abused by patients.
try to actually
stuff.
think, totally. Yeah. Other than that, actually, I played in a talent show earlier today. Kind of was like brought me back to the days in the band, but definitely missed that.
We miss you, man. You guys were amazing when y'all were together.
Yeah, we miss playing with
I know.
you
Yeah.
for sure. You
We actually
Yeah.
might have to talk offline about a certain day in October that we might have to have Eric fly out
There you
and do some sort of celebration.
you getting the
Yeah.
you getting the Rona, you get the cough.
I am.
Hey,
Hey,
hey, Christine, thanks for joining us, Christine.
Christine. Thank you for joining us. Our very first time on YouTube. We'll see if we get kicked off.
Yes, we'll see what happens.
Hopefully not this time.
Badge of
Next
honor
show.
if you get kicked off.
Next show.
Right?
Right? We're doing something right. The first 3 shows definitely would have been kicked
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
for sure.
So, so tonight we're talking 9/11. Obviously 20th anniversary of it.
Tell me if that doesn't make you feel old.
It makes me, well, especially when I realized I was 27 when it happened, or 26 when it happened.
See,
It's-
that makes
it's
Damn,
pretty
you're
scary.
old.
40.
Stop
no,
it.
Old. Old.
Older than me.
Well, the big question:
Older
how
than
old are you? Eric?
me. Eric's the baby.
I was in kindergarten. Yeah, I was a
Nice.
young
Oh.
guy, but I do remember the day. I remember it pretty vividly. Probably not as well as you guys do. Probably don't have as somber of stories, but yeah,
Were you in Arizona when it happened?
yeah. I was in. Yeah.
So you were probably just starting like class.
Yeah, so basically, I remember waking up, getting ready, like, to get ready for school and all that stuff, and my dad being home, and like that was, unheard of. My dad was kind of
Mhm.
guy, got to work by like 5 a.m. He worked at a
Right.
chemical plant in Tempe, and so when he got to
Okay.
work, and by that time they had already like known that there was something going on, and so they sent his whole crew home, like everybody at his job home.
Yeah.
And so when I wake up to get ready for school, my dad's home, TV's on,
And you're like,
and
what?
yeah, I was like, I'm not going to school today, like.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just remember like being on the couch basically all day with my dad and my mom,
Just
and yeah, just watching the news, and
Mhm.
my mom, she worked for Bank One back when it was before Chase,
Yeah.
and she actually worked in the towers in Phoenix, or like in
Oh, the
the
ones
skyscraper.
downtown.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so like their building was like on high
Yeah,
alert
they
because it was the
closed all
tallest.
them almost all the way down other than security.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I just remember like just being at home that day, not knowing. I mean, I was young, but I had seen the
But you
videos
knew
and stuff, but not
something
really.
wasn't
Yeah,
yeah.
not understanding that it was a terrorist attack. I don't think, but just understanding that like, wow, like there's people dying and
Something
like,
yeah, something's
yeah,
happening. Yeah.
right.
That's crazy. No, that's funny because I actually lived right down by those Chase buildings. My house was right downtown. So one of the biggest things is we were getting phone calls because yes, we actually had phones back then in the house. We got a phone call from like the police department saying, stay inside, keep an eye out, like don't go near the tall buildings, stuff like that. And we didn't know why. Like the phone rang, and then me and my mom were getting ready because she was a teacher and she was going to take me to school. So we were just about to leave, and that's when we got the phone call. And she's like, "What do you mean? What's going on?" Turn the TV on. Then she comes in and wakes me up, and we saw everything happen. So it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's that. So, what age were you when you realized the true ramifications of what happened?
Hmm. I think I remember there was an assembly on like the maybe 2 or 3 year anniversary at my like I guess elementary school
Mhm.
when
Mhm.
they like played like the national anthem. They did like the God Bless the USA. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? All that stuff. And I think at that point is where like it really started to
You're
kind of
like,
kind of
oh,
hit
that's
because
what
I
that meant.
yeah, and also too, like my elementary school growing up was called Glendale American, so I think
Mm,
there was like there was always a kind of it was a patriotic school, I guess,
yeah.
and so yeah, I do remember that there being an assembly, and then kind of like having like the moment of silence and all that stuff. Just a few years after, I was probably in like second or third grade because when I moved
Yeah.
out west, I was in I think like fourth grade or so, and I was still at that school. So yeah, I think that's when it really started to hit to kind of like make more sense, kind of
Like what it was.
the broad, yeah, the depth and exactly like the true like meaning of like an attack, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, Shane, what do you remember about that day? Were you in the military at the time when it
Mm,
happened, or no?
No,
Were
I
you
was
out?
actually I'd been out for a couple years, I think, and see, it happened in 2001.
2001, yeah.
I'd been out for a year. Got to think about it. That was a few days ago, guys.
Right? All those
Um,
chickens, man.
yeah.
You can't keep up.
No, I was in bed and woke up. I can't remember if my parents called or something and told us that something had happened. And of course, it didn't register with me right away. And then
Right.
we started watching the news and watched. Yeah, I think I saw this second plane hit, and
That's when we saw too.
yeah, so because I'd missed the first part because I worked later in the day, so I was
Right.
still sleeping. But yeah, we kept pretty in tune with everything that was going on, and I mean, obviously, I didn't live in as big of an area as you guys did, so
Right.
it wasn't. I mean, people were freaking out about it. It's like I don't think they was aiming for whole city in Missouri. So
I was gonna say you weren't
Yeah.
here.
Well,
in
I don't know.
Arizona.
No, I wasn't
here. Yeah.
I don't think they
Interesting.
was aiming where they landed with one of them either, but
Yeah.
hey, who knows?
True.
No, so I had a conversation today with my cousin, and she is teaching third grade. And so the last 2 days they've been talking about kind of everything that happened. And she was like, she's probably about your age, Eric. And she was like, I feel really old right now. And I was like, why? What do you mean? She said, because my kids have no idea what this is.
Mm.
Like they're third grade. They had no idea what this was. Never heard of it, never whatever. So she's like, I'm essentially teaching them a history lesson that I witnessed,
Right.
that I
Mhm.
was there for. And she was like, it's crazy. She's like, I cried like 20 times. She's telling
Right.
the kids.
But that's, you know,
Yeah.
that's the normal cycle of history, though, isn't it? I mean, if you think about
Yeah.
it, our parents told us about World War II
Depression
and
and, yeah.
Vietnam and stuff like that. You know, they lived
Mhm.
Vietnam. They were alive during that time, so they can talk about it. So it's kind of the same thing with us. We're
Yeah,
we
they lived the
experienced it.
depression, and we're like, you stood in line for bread, really?
Right, exactly.
Why would you do that? Like,
So,
Right.
so what was your emotion like when you first saw it happen? Because I know a lot of people have different reactions because they were in different places when it happened, different connections to it. So I'm always curious of what the initial emotion is.
Probably first shocked. I
Right.
mean, you know, once it all clicked, and then I'm pissed off because, you know, somebody done that.
Right.
mhm.
So
And I think, you know, it was kind of that way for me too, because, you know, I'm being from New York, I was living in Las Vegas when it happened,
Yeah.
you know, and I woke up and I saw on the news that a plane had hit the World Trade Center, and actually the local news was reporting it just as a little prop plane.
Well, that's how
they
it
didn't-
started.
Yeah, they didn't
That
even
was the
know
first one. They had no clue
that it was
because
a jet.
nobody essentially saw the
Right,
first one.
Right. So I kind of wrote it
And
off.
then everybody was looking for the second one, and we saw the big plane hit. So
Yeah.
that's when they assumed it was a big plane.
Yeah, and I kind of wrote it off, being like, you know, shit, that sucks.
Some stupid,
you know,
some
but,
stupid guy ran
you
to
know,
the thing.
yeah,
What do you
it's-
do?
but shitty luck
Shit
for them.
happens.
But then on my
That
way to
sucks.
work, that's when the second plane hit. And then I was actually working for a fireplace company at the time. I was out going to people's houses. So every house I went to, they were all plastered to the news,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and unfortunately I had to work. And once the Pentagon got hit, after that, my boss called me up and
That's
said,
when
hey, we're shutting down,
Yeah.
go home, go be with your families, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And so it's kind of the same way for me. It started out as total shock, like, what the hell, you know, it was Red Dawn kind of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're
Mhm.
under attack. And
Seriously.
yeah. And then I immediately got angry because it was my
home.
home state, you know, and there was nothing I can do. And I wanted to so bad jump on a plane, go back there and volunteer and help. I wanted to do that, but obviously the planes were grounded, so you weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that sucked. I felt helpless, like I couldn't help, but
Like you couldn't help your home.
Right.
Like that's your family. That's
Right.
your home. Yeah.
and yeah, so it turned to
Anger.
like really pissed off that this happened. So, you know, it's interesting. That's why I'm glad to have you on, Eric, too, because, you know, you didn't really witness it because you were too young, but at the same time, when you found out what truly happened, your emotion was probably anger and
Yeah. I definitely remember the day that it happened, you know, with my parents being home watching TV. I remember my dad was on the phone all day with my grandfather, my uncles, you know, and I do remember being scared because he was clearly scared, you know. I don't remember like conversations that we had. I don't remember my dad was angry. I just remember it being like a very tense kind of
You could
day,
feel
you
it.
know. You could just feel it. Yeah. And it's one of those that like you remember it because it was so off of what the normal
Mhm.
day-to-day, you know, like routine
Life
was,
is,
you know, and all
yeah.
that. Yeah, exactly.
interesting. So I'm always curious because with current events right now, you know, we're history's there for a reason, and I firmly believe that, you know, we have this culture in our country right now that wants to get rid of our history, and, you know, just because bad shit happened, and it sucks, you know, there's things we've done horribly as a country in the past, and, you know, but there's a lot of things we've done great, and we need to be appreciative for what we have. But the biggest thing about history is we need to learn from it so we don't keep repeating it. And when I see what's going on now in the news, it's just like that cycle starting all over again, you know, and it's scary. It's really scary, especially, you know, for you guys being in the military and everything, and especially you're in it now,
Actively in the military.
So, you know, it's freaking scary as hell. And, you know, Shane, I know you've known a lot of people that have been over there, and, you know, there was a lot of talk about the war that we got involved with.
Yeah.
You know, that we shouldn't have been over there. We shouldn't have gotten involved with it. And I don't know if you can talk about it, Eric, because you're in, but I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are from being in the military. Do you think it was a bad move for us to go over there and defend our country? And
Do you think that us going over there, we truly did defend our country?
yeah, did we accomplish anything
Yeah.
by going over there?
I'll let Shane go first.
Never let Shane go first.
Oh boy. Well, I think that we should have went over there. I mean, because that's where the people who perpetrated the attack were from. At least
Thought they
Yeah.
were from.
thought they were from. Yes. Trying to be careful here.
Right.
But no, I mean, I went back into service after that because, I wanted to go over and help. And it was, it's something we should have done, but I think that it
Poorly
kinda-
executed.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
it poorly executed, and there were a lot of mistakes. And
Do you think there were mistakes as in learning mistakes, like the whole recent events we're going through? Or do you think it
Nah.
was just being stupid and doing stupid shit?
Shane's being very careful right now, I can tell.
That's why I worded it appropriately. Because there are learning experiences. You do kind of have to trial and error stuff if you don't have a fully executed plan. So do you think it was that, or do you think it was just go over there and pretend like we're doing something?
I think that, I mean, when I think about maybe mistakes that like learning mistakes, where when Bush
Okay.
got on the aircraft
Yeah.
carrier and said that it was, we'd won the war or whatever. I can't remember exactly what he
Right,
said,
right.
Yeah.
but I think that's a learning mistake. It's
Yeah.
not smart. I think
Okay.
the withdrawal of the troops has just been handled piss poor. And I think that it was, I mean, it's been intentionally handled poorly.
Yeah.
So
That I fully
Yeah.
agree.
So let me just preface this with saying, so these are my thoughts. They do not represent, DOD or Department of Navy. I think I have to
Right,
say that.
right.
So
Before
basically,
we get kicked out of YouTube.
yeah, exactly. So essentially, I think what with us going over there, right? Like, the enemy of my enemy, or the friend of my enemy, is my enemy, right? And so I think that's kind of like was the justification for us to go over there and try to stamp out like terrorism generally, right?
Right.
But I think like not for me personally, but for a lot of my friends who I now have who've been in for a long time, who have done full careers in the military. I think that when we decided to go over and kind of train up a new military and stuff, it took a lot of like they had to buy in, right?
Right.
And once they bought in and they started training Afghan troops and Afghan commanders and kind of inserting themselves into that culture to try to win over the people, right, and to kind of get behind the mission that the United States had or whatever. Once they bought in, it becomes like I mean, they adopted the same kind of they just adopted the mission as their own, right? And I think that's kind of where like a lot of people who are now now that we've withdrawn and we've left behind both civilians and Afghan troops who are ultimately our allies, and they would have been
Right.
just as much a battle buddy as Shane is to me, or like one of my classmates, or people who I've gone through my military career with. I mean, ultimately it's the same person.
Those are
right?
your
It's the same
coworkers,
type of
your
people. Yeah.
peers. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's where it becomes disheartening. Is like I think like the suits, right? Like the guys in the suits, they're making these decisions, not thinking about people on the ground and relationships that have been had, and kind of like what the implication is of us not having like either a presence there, or at least like having like a policy or some sort of like understanding that hey, we made this progress, and if we regress, that's there's going to be consequences, something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like.
Well, and then
So-
we took all this time and all this money and time and people to build these relationships. And now, so we've made this little bit of leeway we have with this country, and then you all just run away. So you literally just took these people, again, like you were saying, their co-parts, and ripped them out. And now you left them with nothing. So that little bit of trust you just built is now gone. It's worth nothing.
Well, I just was thinking, I don't know if I can follow this thought to conclusion all the way, but it is kind of a demoralizing thing for the country to watch your, sons and daughters and friends and parents and stuff go over there and fight a war and, start getting this country on their feet and then just walk away from it. And it's all just it's a loss.
For nothing.
Yeah. It's demoralizing for the people here in our country. It's definitely demoralizing for them.
Yeah, for them. I
Wow.
mean,
Yeah.
and
both
for the
ways.
ones that helped us when we were over there, for the ones that started to work with us and started to help build that country up, and now we all just run away. So they're like, now what? Like we can't do anything. That's why we needed you guys.
Yeah.
So
I mean, whether you believe what truly happened or not, whether there are certain facts we know to be true, right? I mean, 2 planes did hit the World Trade Center, the buildings did fall, thousands of people lost their lives, right? We know that that's a fact. You know, you can tie all the other conspiracy theories together, which I'm not going to get into, but the reality of it is, and you guys both can probably attest to this, we have enemies out there. We have enemies that want us dead, period.
Lots
Right?
of them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, doing the things that we did, whether other things got mixed in along the way, like our initial intention was to pay back what they did to us, which was good. Everybody was kumbaya, ready to go. Let's go kick their ass, you know, and that's how it was. I think other things got mixed in along the way. You know, like you said, the guys in suits were making decisions probably that weren't the best decisions. We ended up being in a 20-year war. You know, nobody wants people to die. Nobody wants people over there for that long. But, you know, at the same time, we have to remember, if we didn't retaliate, if we didn't go back, how much worse would it have gotten if we would just sat by and
how much
you know,
more September 11th
right?
would
I
we
mean,
have had?
you know, that's the thing. You get a lot of people that say, oh, you know, the United States shouldn't be policing the world. But yeah, you know, as a superpower, I think we kind of have that responsibility, right? I mean, we're kind of, I hate using the Big Brother analogy because it just doesn't sound right. But at the same time, we defend people that can't defend themselves. And if we don't, if we show ourselves as the weaker, those enemies are going to take advantage of that. And a war that wouldn't be fought on our soil could possibly come to our soil. And that's the scary part.
Well,
You
too,
know.
you know, if you take a mainstream talking points, it's not a Big Brother or, you know, policing the world. They came over here and did something to us, and we went back and retaliated and tried to get justice with it. So,
yeah,
I mean, we were really doing, like I said, if you stick to the main talking points, water, you know, media and everything said, then yeah, we were doing the right thing.
right.
So,
Yeah, like I said, I think there was just things that happened along the way that just took us down a different path.
Added incentives. That's his life. And I also wanted to say, going back to you said that they hit the World Trade Centers, but they also tried to hit Washington, D.C.
Right.
and the Pentagon.
They hit
Like
the
they
Pentagon.
literally wanted all gone, and they would have succeeded.
Well, you know, the history goes back long before September 11th, though, if you think about it. I mean,
how many bombings did we have? The bus bombings and the school bombings.
But I think this started actually later in the Cold War. I think, you know, when Russia went into Afghanistan, and the Afghans beat Russia, or the Taliban, whatever they were called at the time, they drove Russia out. I think then they got the mentality of okay, we got rid of one superpower.
Let's go for the next
one. Now we need
one.
to take care of the other superpowers. And I think that's kind of what the mentality was. And I think that's why they have so much animosity against us.
didn't we prop Bin Laden up then? And that war Russia because it served our purpose, or I guess the Soviets. So
so we kind of created that mess, but
yeah, well, we create a lot of messes.
I forgot where I was going with that. Though.
Can I have so Aragon stories? These two gentlemen are being too kind. The entire withdrawal from Afghanistan. Dad, we're trying to not get kicked off YouTube. The entire withdrawal from Afghanistan was a debacle and a disgrace. Those are big words. If we had to be honest, media reporting things truthfully, they would say so themselves. But they can't because they'll get kicked off too.
So
I promised to be on my best behavior.
I know. Right? He's supposed to be good, Dad.
So my dad, just for you guys, so you guys know, he is a veteran himself. And, you know, you can imagine
he's all riled up.
But as the years go on, like the generations before you know, it's got to be harder for them to watch what's going on in our country. You know, what they were fighting for was a purpose back then, you know, and I'm not saying what you guys fight for is not a purpose, but there seems to be more, what's the word I'm looking for? More
animosity.
Maybe animosity is not a right word, but more disdain for what our military does now. I think in the public's eye than there was before.
Disapproval.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. That's the word I'm looking
that's
for.
A good word.
Disdain maybe wasn't a good word, but
I was just throwing stuff out there. I didn't know where you were going.
Yeah. So I think, you know, and you know, the other point I wanted to bring up tonight too, which I think is really, really important, especially with the turn of events since 9/11. When I think back to 9/11, I specifically remember the evening of and the days that followed. I remember I have never in my life, just in my lifetime, I have never seen a more patriotic country than I did after 9/11. Every
100%.
house on the block would have an American flag outside.
Yep.
Everybody, didn't matter your race, didn't matter anything. You were helping each other out.
Yep.
You were there for each other. And then it just seems like after that maybe lasted 6 months, 8 months, I would say, probably everybody still had the flags out. Everybody was trying to help each other. And then all of a sudden we just went into this gradual decline. So much so to the point now where
You're killing babies.
We're pissing on the American flag, I mean,
and you're killing babies.
I don't understand.
Children,
it.
sorry, not babies, children. Sorry.
But I mean, do you guys think the same thing? I mean, did you feel the same way?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think my personal belief is that it was orchestrated that way, where they brought everything together and they've just constantly divided everything apart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the two sides are so far apart right now.
Yeah.
And it's so polar to, opposites of each other. And it's the media's driving it. Politicians are driving it. And it's just, they constantly stir it up. But I think they brought everything together as one thing, but since then they've constantly
they didn't like it
apart.
together. They wanted to wedge everything apart again.
Yeah. I can't, I don't necessarily remember vividly days following or even months following the attacks, but I definitely, I grew up in a patriotic home. I don't know how much of that is attributable to just, my family's kind of history. Like my grandfather was in the military, and, there's always been like that respect for both American values, that kind of things. I've always grown up patriotic, and, I'm the type of person where if I see somebody wearing, like a pride, American pride shirt or something like that, I'll be like, "Hoo-yah, brother!" It's that kind of thing. So but I wish there was that was more accepted, more widespread, and I think like you said, like when I think if we could just all just like come together, just like, hey, we're all Americans, it doesn't matter your color, your race, your job, your socioeconomic status, we're all on the same team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right.
I think I think we forget about that too often.
I'd like to see them try to get all the politicians out there and sing together again.
That'd be a great time for flamethrowers.
Careful.
Sorry, don't get kicked off YouTube. I didn't mean it.
Talk about flame throwing chickens,
right?
Chicken and the
fried
gophers.
Chicken
the
and
gophers out back.
Yes.
Oh, I could use a flamethrower for some gophers.
Some fried gopher.
But you can't be that close to them. Because I thought about it. My buddy at work's got a flamethrower, and I was like, dude, can I borrow it?
No.
I can't, because you can't get that close. You can only get like 20 feet away, and those fucking gophers are fast. They don't let you get that close.
I'm going to look out the back patio one day, and the whole field's going to be on fire. I can just see it now.
Hey, we would have no gophers.
I could just see it now. And no trees or nothing.
That's true.
It'll be right after you get everything done back there.
Right.
Don't say that. I'd cry.
That's exactly what'll happen. Good Lord.
No, that's why I need a pellet gun.
Yeah, that'll work too. No, I think you're right, Eric. And I think, the thing is, shit, I'm thinking about your damn pellet gun now. I totally lost my train of thought.
Are those still legal?
I don't know. They're cheaper bullets than 9s.
I think you could do
that's where I'm at right now.
You could do 50 BBs, so I don't think it is. Isn't the limit 10?
Oh shit. Am I gonna have to go in every day and only buy 10 BBs?
Probably.
They can be like, "What are you shooting gophers?" I'll be like, "Take the whole thing."
What I was gonna say. Sorry, now I'm gonna get back on track here.
Digress.
So like I said earlier, we've done some shitty stuff as a country over the years, but if you really look at our country, and especially you guys have been overseas, we do live in the greatest country in the world.
Yep.
I mean, there's just no doubt about it. It could be so much worse than what we have it here, and I'm afraid that there's never going to be a way for us to come back together again. I don't know that, like you said, we're at such polar opposites now. Are we ever going to be able to find normal ground again, or common ground?
Or are we going to go through gas?
I don't think there's any intention of that.
Yeah.
There may not be an intention of it, but
do you think we could do it?
Don't we decide as people?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it does come up to we the people, right? Like kind of embracing what I think like we collectively like believe it, whether it's not like in terms of politics, but like if we all believe like America,
Is great. Yeah.
is great. Yeah, I think we can all, rather than being told like, no, America's bad, or listening to whatever the media or whoever's saying, we could all just kind of stick true to what we believe. Like I think that absolutely, like the country could come together again and have that unity. I think honestly, like it comes down to we get so much noise, right? Like everybody's constantly getting bombarded with noise, and it becomes hard to kind of to broaden out your vision to see the bigger picture. You know what I mean? And or like what actually matters.
Well, and to take those blinders off and filter through the media, to filter through that that's being thrown at you. But you have to want to. I mean, if you're fully satisfied with what they're giving you, why would you want to?
Well, and I think that's what the problem is most people they believe whatever they hear and don't seek out the truth on their own.
Right.
Now, this is my question. You too, Eric. So, because you are from this next generation behind me, so I know you're sort of on this line. So Keith remembers, not aging you. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry.
Good to know we weren't the same generation, at least.
No, you're right. I think you're right around me. When did you graduate? Oh, no, 'cause you're already in the military. So you're older than me. You're between me and him.
Could be.
When did you graduate high school?
Was it 2000? No, 94.
Yeah, you're in between. Okay. So you
Not
remember.
in between. He's a year different than me.
He's in between.
Stop it. Just stop it, okay?
But I was super smart and graduated when I was 8. So
I want to put
Eric.
up Christine's comments. We don't normally get a lot of comments on here, but since we're doing YouTube,
the people.
Yeah, people definitely
100%.
have to be the ones to bring this country back together again.
100%. You're going to get to the point where the people who don't want to say nothing are going to start saying stuff. That's all I got to say.
Well, and here's the thing.
I have a question.
Oh,
though.
sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So you remember waiting in line, right? Waiting in line for stuff. Like wait in the grocery store. You just wait. You chat with the lady behind you. Right. You wait in line. You remember talking to people. It wasn't this instant gratification.
Right.
You wait in line at the grocery store now and you have the dude behind you that's like, and I'm like, do you need to go in front of me? Well, what do you mean? Well, apparently you're having some sort of fit, so you can't wait another 30 seconds. Do you need to go in front of me because your time is more important than mine? And they just look at you. Oh, I just wanted to make sure. Like you were here throwing a fit. So it's that instant gratification now. We're so used to having everything instantly right this second. If somebody can't find something on their phone through Google, they throw a fit. Like nobody knows how to think for themselves. Everybody wants it handed to them. So I think that's hugely where we've lost so much of it because we don't have that. Oh, let me look for it. Let me look through an encyclopedia, like an actual book. And have to spell it out and flip through
those before. It's been a long time.
You used them, but you remember like actually looking through them. You remember your medical books, Eric. Trust me, looking for a med or something through there. It don't just tell you. You got to find it, and that takes time. So it's that patience I think we've all lost, which is a huge part of it. Okay.
No, I definitely agree, and like when it comes down to like you're saying, it's definitely like a fast where you have like this fast food culture, right? Where if you can't get the full story in
right now,
120
in 2
words,
sentences,
or like in a title, that's basically I think there was like that statistic that came out that most people get their news
from the headlines.
From headlines, or they'll see the headline on a Facebook article or
because you don't actually click the article and read it, because if you did, you'd be like, what the frack? Although I am 100% guilty of that, because our and then Keith read it and then I felt really bad because I was supposed to read it. So it was Doug Ducey passed a thing saying that he was giving $60 million to healthcare to help buy more nurses. Great. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. If you have 100 nurses, you still have 100 nurses, no matter you throw $60 million at them. Well, down in the article, because I didn't read the article, I just read the headline. It said that they were going to start using monoclonal antibodies. And I was like, oh, well, that's good. Too bad I didn't read the article.
So it wasn't just 60 million to buy nurses, it was 60 million to
do
staff
all that
and pay for
and do that.
monoclonal.
Like, okay.
You bring up something that I've said to many people in conversation. You admit right? That
I
you
100%
read
admit
read
it.
articles, or read just headlines. I think people don't admit that, and then they say,
Oh,
"Oh, well, I read this
I
headline,
read the
and
whole thing.
yeah, exactly," and they think they have all the answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Oh, I read the
they're
headline. It
gonna
must
they're
be,
gonna die on this mountain saying
yeah,
Ducey only gave $60 million for healthcare workers.
yeah.
Well, and then I
Yeah,
read
and
the article.
I think people, like, that's kind of the problem. Is like I think like too many people aren't able to admit that they are ignorant and on the all the facts, right? They might know the headline, but they don't know all the facts, And then, but ultimately they'll have arguments with you still over
On those
the little bit they
facts.
do know. Yeah,
Oh
with the
my
little bit that
God.
they
I'm
know.
like, is this the mountain you're gonna die on? Really? Like you didn't even do your research and this is the mountain you're dying on.
But we've been conditioned
do
that
it.
way, though.
Yeah.
We've been
No,
conditioned that way
absolutely.
because if you think about technology, okay, even go back to Facebook early days, it was just a way for people to communicate with each other. That's what Facebook
Yeah.
started out as, right? All the
Just find
social media
friends.
platforms start out like that. And then they start giving their own versions of the news. They start, interpreting things the way they want to interpret it, how they believe it should be. And I think it's even the same way. Well, it's even the same way. Well, that didn't start till recently, but even in the schools, it started doing the same thing. Teachers would start to teach what they believed and what they wanted, and they didn't stick with the curriculum,
Yeah.
So my thing is, we've been conditioned to be this way. They gradually introduced the technology to us. We fell in love with the technology more and more. Oh, now we got a phone this size that we can, pilot a spaceship
Search the
on,
world.
and there's so much shit you can do with these things. And we just got conditioned to be that way. Amazon came about.
We got conditioned to be dependent.
I can click and order dog food for the next month and it'll be delivered tomorrow to my door. I don't have to go to the store anymore. I don't have to. So I think we've been conditioned to be this way, and we lost appreciation for what we had, especially the generations that came after that grew up with this technology. They didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And I think
and the sad thing is that's not a long time ago.
But I'm saying it evolved.
It's
really
literally
quick.
one generation.
Right,
Like that's what's scary is.
But that's my point. They didn't grow. If you didn't, like Eric said, I think what Eric said earlier was key is your family values. Okay. You can still be raised in a technologically advanced society, but if you still have those old values
ground into you,
right, you can teach those values while incorporating the technology.
But
there's ways to do that. We choose not to do that.
So this is
we choose to throw little Johnny in a corner with
his tablet and let him be.
And that's
because this is the thing, because you have kids, you have people. Eric, I'm not even going to ask how old your mother is because that'd make me sad. If she was young,
make me sad.
If she was young when she had you, she could be my age. You technically could have children. So you could have children that would have no idea what like an actual encyclopedia is. They've never seen one. Unless you're going to instill those values in them. Well, if you have these younger kids having younger kids, they're not going to get those values because guess what? Now they have a kid to raise. Now they have all these troubles and tribulations and the world is falling apart. That was a choice you made because your parents didn't ingrain that in you. Like that's where we lost it. So we're losing it farther and farther because one generation missed it or a couple families missed it. And it's just going to keep snowballing.
Right. So going back to the original point, I don't want to get too far off 9/11 here because we've kind of definitely derailed a whole different direction.
Yeah.
But going back to the point, it is going to be the people's responsibility to bring this country back together. And I'm not, trust me, I'm going to do a disclaimer here. I am in no way calling for any type of revolution or civil war or anything like that. I don't think it's going to take that. I really don't. I think it's going to take people
standing
waking up.
Realizing
what's going on, realizing, if you don't believe in the conspiracy theories, and that's the whole purpose of this channel is to bring people together that maybe don't agree with Lindsay and I or John and Wendy, the two we normally have on with us. If they don't agree with us, but come with reasoning, come with facts as to why you don't agree with us.
Or just come and talk.
And we'll talk about it like you're supposed to talk about it. Not, hey, Shane, you're an asshole because you don't think this.
You have too many goats. You're an asshole because you have too many goats.
or Eric, you're too young to even know. You know what I mean? Just stupid statements like that that people say instead of having an intelligent conversation. And I think we really got to get back to that. We got to, the media is going to be the media. I don't think we're ever going to change that. I don't think we're going to change it. I think they're too powerful. They're too big. We're not going to change it. We need to choose to stop listening to it.
Yes.
And we need to start making our own decisions.
Well, or listen to it as we watch reality shows as entertainment.
But
I love throwing on some good news and watching some good car accidents and murders every day. It makes me feel good.
But wow, you're kind of sick.
Eric knows he works in healthcare. He understands.
But I just think we have to make that decision. And I think
Mhm.
you're starting to see things change a little bit. I think I'm starting to see, well, I am. I'm starting to see
I hope you
Yeah.
are.
more people getting kind of pissed off with what's going on.
But
And I
pissed
think you're going
off
to see it
and
more.
motivated are different. There's a lot of people in my work who are real pissed off about this mandate too. And it's real interesting how they're
Mhm.
all now vaccinated.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I get that.
pissed off and willing to stand your ground are different.
I get that.
Am I going to stand and die on that hill? 100%. So we have
Yeah.
to get the people who are willing to die on the hill.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think to your point, Keith, I do think that there is kind of a subset, like, and I think it actually is a bigger subset than we think of the population that is kind of like how we're saying, we're like, you don't have to listen to what the media says, you have to listen to what, the narrative is. Like, you're allowed to have a free thought. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, just because you hear it on CNN doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Or
true.
like Fox,
Exactly.
blah
Do
blah
a
blah.
little more research in
Yeah,
it.
right. And I think I think a lot of it actually comes from podcasting. I think like podcasts are a great way for people to like, hey, we're gonna come together, we're gonna BS for an hour talking about stuff that we both all agree on, and then if we get
Yeah.
into the conversation on something that we have different opinions on, we'll talk about it. We have this open
Yeah.
forum. It's not this 5-minute debate on a news program where we have to hurry up before we get to a commercial break. I think like
Exactly.
this platform is a great way to kind of bring together people from not just political ideologies, but just like to
Yeah.
bring people together in general, no matter what their different opinions are. It's
To have conversations. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree with that 100%.
And also, I think
spot on.
it's not the news snipping out the whole conversation and only using what they want.
right.
Like, you need to hear the whole story. We're not saying one or the other. You have to hear the whole story.
And
Mhm.
people need to stop. I see that. I see it on Facebook all the time. They're posting these TikTok videos and they're making it like, oh, it's a real thing. This news article came out and then at the end it says TikTok on it. I'm like, really? Are you fucking stupid? Stop listening to shit like that. Seriously. Because I mean, I've seen so many videos where you see 5 different versions of the same video, right? And it's like, come on, it's
Come on,
clearly
guys.
doctored. It's clearly different than what it's supposed to be.
Crazy.
So Christine says all it's going to take is for people to start caring about one another and start caring about what's going on with our government.
100%.
I agree with that.
First sentence. Put that back up again. For people to start caring about one another.
Mhm.
Ding, ding.
Ding, 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 ding. Thank you, Christine.
And that's where Shane's point. We're right now we're polar opposite.
100%.
We got families, we got best friends yelling at each other, screaming at each other right now, and it's just insane right now.
Over nothing.
Absolutely
Over
insane.
nothing.
Yep. All right.
Sorry.
I don't want to get too far off
Okay.
our
Can we read
topic
my
for
flight
tonight.
thing?
Yes. So let's go. Lindsay found something interesting about Flight 93. Most people know about Flight 93 that went down in Pennsylvania.
So my thing before you put that up.
Sure.
So I was looking for more of like a transcript for that day because I know bits and pieces. Again, I was just barely out of high school, so I didn't know a whole lot about it. And let's say I was 18, I didn't have a whole lot of motivation to look into it. So I read 28 pages or something this morning about what happened that day, and it broke it down minute by minute for every single flight. It was amazing. So I put some snippets in here. There was a lot of stuff I left out, and I can sort of verbally talk about it. I wanted to try to keep it all on one page so I could put it up there to read it.
You want me to throw it up there?
Yeah, I'm ready now.
Okay. Throw it up there for you.
Okay, so Flight 93 left Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco, California. It was a Boeing 757. It only had 37 passengers and 7 crew members on it. The flight did not strike the terrorists' intended target. There were 4 hijackers. The plane was capable of holding 182 passengers, but it only held 37 that day. So with the 7 crew members, it had 44 people on this
Flight.
plane that could have held 182
Right.
plus the crew members. So you're looking at 200 people almost that could have been on this flight if it was full.
Right.
So the flight left New Jersey at 7:45. At 8:46, flight 11 crashes into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:03, flight 175 crashes into the South Tower. So you had 15 minutes roughly in between there. At 9:37, flight 77 crashes into the Pentagon. So right about now, everybody is
On high
pretty much
alert.
realized that shit's hitting the fan
Right.
in an hour time. So at 9:46, the flight flight 93 is now 29 minutes away from DC. They are heading that way. At 9:50, so for between 9:46 and 9:59, there was tons and tons of phone calls. It talks about every single like crew member that called their families, passengers, everybody kind of called their families, said, "Hey, call, this is what's going on." So at 9:50, the passengers are discussing how to overthrow the terrorists by throwing boiling hot water on them from the coffee pots before attacking. These are my kind of people. At 9:57, the passengers and the rest of the crew began their assault on the terrorists. During this time, they stormed the cockpit and began to fight. The plane was being thrashed around and is rocking right to left. In another one of the time frames that came up is there was a small plane that actually called in and said, "Hey, I see this really big plane that's rocking left to right and its nose keeps being pointed down." Well, that's because they were fighting in the cockpit and the person who was trying to steer the plane was, being beaten up. So at 9:59, the South Tower collapses, and at 10:01, there's a male voice in the cockpit that says, "Get them or we die." The hijacker continues to pull the nose of the plane down, and at 10:03, Flight 93 crashed into a field in the Shanksville, Pennsylvania. All on board were killed, and there was about 20 minutes of flying time left to DC. So at 10:28, the North Tower collapses. So in an hour and 46 minutes, sorry, I'm going to cry. Our country's lives
are
changed.
Almost 3,000 Americans perished that day. And yes, we will always remember. So it's pretty, you want to talk about courage, Flight 93, that's pretty courageous in my book. I mean,
Yeah,
they knew what was happening. They knew they weren't going to make it out of there.
No, there was a lot of, when you read through all the phone calls to families, like husbands saying, "I got to do this. I don't know where they're going." They knew it was either the Pentagon or DC. They're like, "I don't know where we're going, but we have to take it down. Like, I'm talking to other people. We're going to do this. Like, I love you guys." And just,
I think it was either the White House or the Capitol building is what they thought they were aiming for.
Yeah, I think it was Capitol.
I don't know.
The
Yeah.
Capitol building is what they
it just
said.
said Washington, DC.
Yeah. So, pretty telling. I mean, I kind of use not to bring up COVID, but I kind of bring up my COVID analogy. This is the first time something like this has ever happened in this country, so I think everybody was like, "Oh shit," because, you hear transponders, you hear, the military talking, you hear towers talking. They're still debating whether or not they're going to scramble jets to find these. I think it was finally after the second plane hit, they finally decided to get some jets up in the air and take.
They said that in there. They said it through the first one. It wasn't. It was like 9:45 is when they were like, "Okay, guys," they scrambled the jets, but they didn't know what they were looking for.
Right.
They were looking for one specific. They were looking for flight 157, the one that hit the North Tower. Because they were like, they weren't convinced that it was that plane that went into it because they turned off the sensors and everything. So that's what they scrambled the jets was to look for that. So they still didn't even say that it was a terrorist attack.
Right. Yeah, I think it took both planes before they called it. I guess they term it a real world event or whatever they call it. At that point, and by that time, it was obviously too late for the towers. But
in all honesty, that was an hour. You think we could have done anything in an hour, even if we did know what it was?
Like I said, by the time we realized what was going on, it was,
That's what I'm saying. Even in an hour and a half, like there's no way we could have done anything. Even at the very first plane, we said this is a terrorist attack. There's no way we could have.
Yeah.
I mean, just wait for that.
Wasn't there a third building that went down?
I think one of the buildings behind the Trade Center went down. And I don't know what the reasoning was for that. And there's
everything falling on it.
There's a lot of speculation on it, but yeah. So there was another building that went down. Because it was, I don't know. I went to the Trade Center in '93 and I was young, so I really don't remember everything. But I think between the two towers, I think there was a hotel that was in between the two towers. So I don't know if that was the building went down. My dad could probably say it.
Dad, what was the building?
Tower 7.
Yeah, I think it was Tower 7. But was that the hotel or was that just a different?
I thought it was just another building.
Was it?
It's funny because they call it tower, but it wasn't a tower like the Twin Towers. I mean, it kind of just looked like a regular office building kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Yeah, that was
Right.
that was kind of
Yeah, but for real though, Flight 93, like such a like great example of just courage, and like I don't even know if you could call it patriotism because they didn't really know
What it was.
what it was, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
or like where it was going. But I guess it is definitely patriotism, but I don't know if that was like
Courage
the
for
intent. Yeah,
sure.
but absolutely courage, yeah, courage and just I think about like that's the type of decision you have like you can like really think about. You just gotta act. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure that those phone calls, it wasn't like a hey I think I might do this. It's like no, it's like hey this is happening
This is
and
happening. I miss
yeah
you guys. I love you. I'll always
right
remember you was most of what all of them
yeah
said. But they're like,
right
we got to do this or we're going to die.
Right.
So they
Mhm.
still had 100% intentions of trying to land this
Mhm.
plane after they killed these guys. But the terrorists kept pulling the nose down. They were just too
It
low and
just
they
lost
got him.
control. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not going to diminish what Flight 93 did at all.
No,
But if
amazing.
you look at the Trade Center, think about okay, you're a first responder. Okay, whether you're a firefighter, a police officer, you swore duty to protect people. But also, I mean, in the medical field, what's the first thing I know is when I was studying EMT and I was becoming an EMT, the first thing they made you do is make sure the scene was safe before
Yeah,
you
scene
put
safety, right.
yourself right. So these people, these firefighters, these policemen that we demonize so much these days,
Knew damn well.
Yeah.
they threw all that out the window. They didn't give a shit.
Mhm.
They went back
Yeah.
in to rescue people.
Yeah.
You can Google all kinds of 9/11 stories and it'll make you freaking cry. I watched one the other day. This guy I think it was a fire chief. He wasn't even a firefighter anymore. He was like
Retired. Like your dad,
no, he
retired.
wasn't retired, but he
Oh.
was kind of at the corporate level. He'd
Okay.
go around, do
Office.
trainings.
Okay.
He would hold meetings,
Okay.
and I think he was actually in a suit that day. And he drove to the Trade Center, okay, and put on a suit, went in and started rescuing people.
Hell
He
yeah.
he didn't have to do that, I mean, but he did. And actually he was in one of the towers when it collapsed. Luckily, he was in a structure that actually stayed up when the towers went down. So he got buried under rubble, but they eventually found him. He was in horrible shape. He wasn't expected to live,
Mm.
but he did. He pulled through. And you hear all kinds of acts of heroism, just people who did that. Even civilians went back in, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Well,
it's
look
just
at you. You were
it's
ready to
just
fly back there.
it's just incredible. And I don't, everybody's different. Everybody has different personalities. I don't know if I would have gotten to that building or even if I was there at the time, I don't know if I would have had the courage to jump in there. Because you think about it, when the first tower got hit, you don't think anybody in the second tower was going,
This
maybe
kind of bad.
maybe we shouldn't stay in here. Maybe we shouldn't leave.
I think they did start leaving.
But they did, and then they gave the all clear, and some of them went back in. So because I think they thought it was just
that accident,
just
yeah,
limited to that tower. Nobody expected the second plane to go.
Well, and if it was truly a crop plane like they thought it was,
right?
It was just purely a bad accident.
But there was insurance companies and all kinds of companies that worked in those buildings, and there's people that ran back in to make sure their coworkers are okay, make sure their coworkers got out. Now, and the reason we got off track a little bit earlier was talking about how to bring this country back together. It sucks that it takes an event like that for something like that to happen. But think of, we did it then, we could do it now
100%
under a different circumstance.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, we can go to defend
Absolutely.
each other. We can bring that. I'll absolutely use the word patriotism
Mhm.
because you look at our enemy, you look at other countries, they wouldn't do shit like that.
It's all one.
They don't
all for one
value
and one for
life. They
all.
don't value the same things that we value here.
Yep.
And I just think I think 9/11 is a great example to show that
Mhm.
this country could come together and could accomplish great things. You're smirking. Why are you smirking, Eric?
Who? Me?
You. Yeah, I thought you were
Oh,
smirking
no.
like you were going to say something.
Like you had
No, no, no.
something brewing in there.
So,
Yeah.
I think we should really learn a lot from 9/11. Not just the horrible side of things, because it was horrible. I mean, my best friend I grew up with, he died. He died in the World Trade Center. And I didn't find this out till like a month after it happened. So that really hit home for me when that happened. But I think there's so much else we can learn from the events. And that, that's just my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. There's a story this last week that I saw, and it's just kind of something that I was thinking about, and kind of to like the whole point about kind of bringing people together, whatever. But he was talking about one of the photographers who, the photographer who took a lot of the photos of the people falling to their deaths, you know, jumping, and how when those photos like first came out, you know, obviously very, very just hard to look at, right? And there was a guy who didn't know where his wife was. She was in the buildings that day. And she hadn't been accounted for, right? And he said like this was when these photos were fresh, you know what I mean? Like the guy takes them home, starts going through them, developing whatever, and he finds out that this guy's got these photos and he wants to look at them because he knew that she was like high up or something like that.
Yeah.
And he starts looking at them and he remembered because he remembered what she was wearing that day. And one of the photos of the people jumping,
Oh my God.
he was able to discern, yeah, that's what the blue dress that she was wearing. And yeah, that's how he found out, you know.
Wow.
I mean, just to think about like I like that even happened, you know what I mean? That like, and that was like because some a-hole decided to fly a plane into those towers, that story even exists should be something for us to like come together, like, hey, you know, those people are our enemies and we need to do whatever we can to prevent something like that from happening again. It was a very very sad story. And when I heard it, I was like, wow. It's like, that's incredible. You know,
That's crazy.
So sad.
I think I remember hearing that story. It sounds very familiar, but and that was a horrific scene too, to watch people. And you can imagine their desperation at that point. I mean, you know, what do you do? You're above the fire. Nobody's going to get to you. You know what I mean? They know that. So what are your choices?
I'd be a jumper.
I mean, I guess it's
would you jump?
Quicker way to go.
I would jump. I'd rather jump than burn to death.
Yeah. I mean, if I don't know what my mindset would be during that.
I would be a jumper.
I really don't know.
I'm terrible to admit that I would 100% be a jumper.
I don't even.
Seriously, I don't even know.
You just pray that you're never in that situation. You know what I mean?
100%.
I'm sure those people never thought they'd be in that situation either. You know, never thought it in a million years.
Jump and pray God takes me before I hit the sidewalk.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think that's why those photos specifically are so like that. I think those capture kind of just the horror of that day more than like. I mean, maybe not more than, but like if any one photo of that day,
of it.
Yeah, like that photo kind of really sums up just how effed up the whole day, the whole scenario was, you know, because I don't think we've ever seen anything like that before, you know, like, and that's kind of what makes it so shocking, right? Is that it's unthinkable until you see it, and then it's like, wow, that actually happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Dad said that every event that day took its toll on me, but watching people jump to their death from the tower buildings got me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said there was a large bronze statue that sat between the twin towers, not sure if a building stood behind it. There's dogs scratching at the door.
Why does this happen every show?
I have to beat some ass.
YouTube's here.
Right?
It's YouTube. Guys, bite them.
They're knocking on our door. Every last show it happened too. They started barking and they freak out, and I don't know what it is. So
I'm gonna let them in.
Oh boy.
Why is that homeless guy in there?
Why'd they let the homeless guy in?
So would you have jumped?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say because where's the point? I mean, and I'm not trying to make light or diminish anything that happened, but where's the point where you give up? And because I mean, you wouldn't know for sure until, I mean, when's the point that you know that you're not going to make it out of there,
right? Or
that there's no help. I mean, as long as you have something to hold on to, because I doubt they thought the buildings were going to collapse.
No,
because there was nobody thought that.
Right.
And it was pretty unbelievable watching that part on TV, because who'd think that a plane hitting a building that high up is going to make it collapse?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm sure they was at the point where the flames were looking at them or something that might make you, you probably want to jump. It'd be better than burning to death.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've heard some horrific stories too. I really want to say my friend who passed away, I think he was on the phone with his family when the building started going down. And I just can't even imagine that. I couldn't fathom that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just crazy to me.
Yeah, there's audio clips of people's like on the cell phone right before it collapses, and you could
Yeah.
just hear like there's like that split second where they realize what's happening, and then
Yeah.
it kind of cuts out, but that split second you can just hear the like the terror. I mean,
Yep.
like how like scared they were,
Yeah.
because they knew what was happening at that point. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild.
It is wild. It's crazy.
crazy.
Absolutely nuts.
I think it's yeah, it's what's I think like there's obviously been horrific things in history, right? Things that like maybe were even worse, but like the fact that it was caught, like
We were able to
it was,
capture it.
yeah, the way that it was captured, and that it's kind of like it's the first like really great example that we can like look back on and have eyewitness and plus archival footage and audio photographs, you know what I mean,
And
I
tons of
just
them, not just one, like
right,
not just
yeah,
a couple of them. Like there are so many people's cell phones that
right,
still have that. Their
yeah.
voice recordings from their family members. Like
Mhm.
it is all the fact that we
Sure.
were able to capture that all is amazing yet terrifying all at the same time because
Yeah.
you can relive it whenever you
Mhm.
want, which is
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you wonder. Like, I wonder what it would have been like, right before or during Pearl Harbor, for example. Like,
yeah,
if
to
there
see
was the
that.
access, if there was access to, I mean, maybe phones, or like what was kind of like the
Mhm.
reaction, right after
Yeah.
that in the country, and the people who were there. We don't
Mhm.
get to see that, which
Mm-mm.
I think
You get to hear
9/11.
stories, but you don't get to hear
Yeah,
the
but yeah,
actual like terror in their voice and the videos of it happening or
But like Eric's point, there's things that happened all over the world that are probably just as horrific as what happened to us. But I think it's based on location. If you think of Nazi Germany, the people in Germany are going to have the effect with the Holocaust the way we had with 9/11. You know what I mean? So I think it's based
right, yeah,
on where you're at. Somebody from Germany or China, Japan, whatever, they might not give a crap less about 9/11. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guarantee 9/11 has affected every American alive during that time in
yeah.
one way, shape, or form. I mean, because basically the country got locked down because nobody knew what
Mhm.
was happening. So I would say it affected
and
everybody.
we didn't know what was next.
Right, right. I mean, see, it was the only time other than maybe the start of COVID where there wasn't a plane in the sky. And if it was either military or your ass was getting shot down, one or the other,
Hmm.
and that's just crazy. That's crazy to think about that, you ever see the maps of how many planes are in the air at any given time in the United States? I mean,
I was gonna say something, but that would have definitely got us kicked
then
off.
don't say it. I'm trying not to say it.
Okay.
So I want to talk about a couple of the things that actually came out of 9/11.
I'm gonna type it.
Are you going to type it?
I'm gonna type
That
it.
might still get us kicked off. But I don't know.
I'm on Rumble. I'm not on YouTube.
Okay. All right. She's so
I can't see
Stubborn
what
and
you're saying.
feisty.
you don't want to see what she's saying, probably.
It's no, he would actually like it. That's why I
Oh.
can't let him see it.
Okay.
Oh,
You have to log into Rumble and see.
what's Rumble?
Exactly.
Let me grab my technology here.
I want to talk about the Patriot Act a little bit, and kind of get Eric smiling.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I want your guys' opinion as if did anything good come from it, or was it all bad? Was it all? I mean, was there? What's the word I want to say? It's kind of one of those things where it's the cure worse than the disease. You know what I mean? Is
Mhm.
what we tried to do to protect ourselves didn't end up being worse than what it was prior to.
How
So-
honest can I be?
You could be. I mean, you can be honest.
Don't get us kicked off YouTube.
Just be careful.
See,
with
I can't be honest then.
Okay. Would you like
Hey.
me to read that?
Yeah, because I can't read it, and you guys probably have a hard time seeing it because it was the way
It's
the
terrible.
screenshot went. So.
Title 1 is enhancing domestic security against terrorism. Title 2 is enhanced surveillance procedures.
Right.
Title 3 is anti-money laundering to prevent terrorism, which affects what I do now.
Right.
There's a lot of, you have to make sure people aren't laundering money. Title 4, border security.
Sorry.
Wow, he's really trying to kill me. Title 5, removing obstacles to investigating terrorism.
Right.
Title 6, victims and families of victims of terrorism.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Title 7, increased information sharing for critical infrastructure protection.
Right.
Title 8, terrorism criminal law. 9 improved intelligence, and 10 miscellaneous.
A lot of miscellaneous in there.
Oh God.
So, well, I mean,
Take that away.
one,
see her.
1, 2, and 4, I think are kind of important. I think 1 was where the whole TSA came in, right? Kind of
Yeah.
at the airports.
Okay with that.
It's kind of
No more sneaking snakes on planes.
It's
If
kind of
you've
an
seen that movie.
it's kind of an inconvenience for people. I get it, but
Mhm.
I'd rather feel safer when I fly.
Is it
to be
really,
honest with
honestly,
you.
any more than it ever was?
I think it is.
I've been
don't
flying
think it is.
forever.
You don't think so?
I think it's a freaking joke.
Dude, it's 5 more minutes than it ever was.
No, at the beginning it wasn't though. Beginning it would take you 3 hours to get through security.
Yeah,
in
you'd
some
have to show up
airports.
early, and
it
they'd
would-
go through. I remember going when we moved to Hawaii, and they dumped all my kids' toys and stuff out, and they went through all that stupid because they don't check the people that need check. They just pick random people out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know I look like it.
You would
Can I say terrorist on here? Or is that gonna
suspicious.
I look suspicious because I really fit the profile. But having that
You
one-way
do.
ticket to Hawaii where there's lots of targets, that's yeah. I don't know. I think TSA is a joke. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think that TSA, like it's very much I wouldn't say subjective, but it depends on who you get, right? Like I've had some really crappy TSA workers who just like for no good reason are just like, yeah, you're gonna feel my wrath today. And then there's others who are just really cool, So I think it comes down to like it's one of those typical things where like the people ultimately make the entire thing worse than it has to be, or like they put a bad name on it, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of like with you, Keith, where it's like if it's if it's catching a certain amount of people with stuff that could potentially either be used or maybe not even with the intent, but could be potentially dangerous or something like that. I mean, yeah, why not? I will say it was annoying one time I got on a plane and I had a bottle of shampoo and they made me throw it out, and it was like a $7 bottle of shampoo.
I remember when they dumped
I've
all
had to
my
throw out
psoriasis
perfume.
shampoo in my luggage and ruined my
Oh.
backpack and
Yeah, I've had to throw out perfume, and I'm like, gosh darn it.
I think they've given power to a bunch of people who honestly would do no more than hold a menial job in society.
I was gonna say, if you equate it to
Most of them are
the
idiots.
Walmart greeter at Walmart, not that I'm.
I like
Putting down the
Walmart greeters better.
They're
But
nice.
I don't want to downplay their role. I mean, they have a job to do. But I just
Well, and in all
do
honesty,
they really want to be there? I
do
mean, they're
you
there
want that
collecting
jo-
a paycheck.
Would you want to
know
do
what I
that job?
No, hell no. I would not want to do that.
That's like
That's a
the
shitty job.
TSA agent is the poor, and Eric, you know this because I'm sure your hospital has this, the poor screener at the hospital front desk who has to take everybody's temperature, who can only let so many people in. You couldn't pay me enough money to do that job. You
Yeah, but
could not.
Which one of them's making more money?
They're
TSA
probably
agent
making
or-
about
Yeah.
the same, unfortunately,
I don't know.
because
I think TSA agents probably making. I don't think they're making terrible money.
They're probably making decent
You
They
money.
work for the
couldn't-
government,
you couldn't pay me enough money
and they're not
to
in the
do
military.
that.
yeah.
Couldn't pay me enough money to do that and just be cranked out all day. Nope.
No, I couldn't do it either.
No,
But
thank you.
like Eric said, I mean, if it makes things feel a little bit safer when you fly, I'm okay with it. I can handle the inconvenience.
Yeah.
But again, you go back to, if anybody were to ever try that again with a plane, there's no way in hell it's ever going to happen again. I mean, they'll take a plane down. Like, look what they do
I
with
hate
people
to
who don't
say
wear
it.
masks. They duct tape them to the seats now. I mean, they're not going to get away
I'm gonna
with
get
that.
duct taped to the seats.
I think something you just said is very key to what I think the whole Patriot Act and what everything with 9/11 has to do with is.
Okay.
You said if it makes you feel safe, and I think that's what this entire thing is about. Is that they were able to orchestrate something that made the American people feel endangered, and the government stepped in and they brought in the feeling of security. And if you read through that list of stuff, almost everything on there is taking away rights and stripping rights away from the American citizen. It's not here to protect us. It's here to take stuff away from us.
Yep.
Right.
As it's always been, but we've been giving up our rights for years.
Oh yeah. Happily, because
because
the name
it's
of
easier. It's
if-
easier for us.
yeah.
It's better for security.
Yep.
You're telling me you can go through my bag and I can get on the plane faster? Absolutely. Here, see whatever you want.
I knew there was a reason they had you on the show
I
tonight.
know. I've been trying
Yeah,
so
and-
hard to be good, but
Hold on,
And
Eric said something to say.
I definitely agree with that, Shane. And I think it kind of goes back to the thing we were talking about earlier about like with the suits, right? Like when you look at it on paper, like you could say like, okay, yeah, like I think these things are going to make us secure, right? And you get like when you establish this whole system or whatever, you know, there's people who join this organization with the intent like, yeah, I'm going to make things safer, right? But then it's just like with any job, you do it for like long enough or you know you do it and you have a couple bad days and you just get jaded, right? And then it just becomes this giant bureaucracy really. And then the suits, they see what kind of power they get, and then it becomes this thing that they can't let go of, or that they, hey, what else can I do, you know? And I think that's I definitely agree with that, Shane.
now you're describing postal workers. They're all grumpy
Yeah,
and sit
I know,
behind the
yeah.
desk. I've been doing this for 37 years.
Ah.
I'm going to go as slow as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Newman.
They're going to lose all my mail now.
Mhm. You already live out in the middle of nowhere. Your mailman's
Hey.
just gonna be like this.
I hate to say it, they can't find my house, so I'm safe.
Then you're good. They can't get past the vicious attack goats you
That's
have
right.
trained.
But okay, so Eric keeps bringing up the suits. Okay, do you think I go back to my days when I thought I was going to be a car salesman and I went to work for Honda for a month?
You
But
thought you were gonna be a car salesman?
yeah, I did. I really did.
That's cute.
But so these people, these TSA people, these people that are getting hired to do these jobs that for our protection, do you think on their first day when they're being trained, it's a big kumbaya meeting to where I remember the first day of my training class with Honda, the head guy brought in his paycheck and said, yeah, you can make
this.
$6 million a year doing this stuff. And, yeah, let's do it. Go team,
You could have made
And-
$6 million a year.
Have you met Keith? He's not a salesman.
No, I'm definitely not a salesman. But to my point is, you think these people are pumped up when they're learning how to do this stuff? They're trained.
Yeah.
You guys are saving American lives. You're
Let's do it.
protecting everybody. So in the beginning they think, hey, I'm doing a good thing here. I'm doing a great thing.
Well, you remember basic training. What did
No,
they
I
tell
don't
you?
Remember basic training. I never went through
I
it.
wasn't talking to you. They didn't let you in. You only have one kidney. They didn't like you.
Right.
So they told you like you're gonna save the world. You're gonna,
You know
like,
what they call
this is-
that?
what?
That they call that the indoctrination phase. Like that's sort of what it's called. Indoc. I think that's kind
Okay.
of what you're talking about, Keith. Is like they got to indoctrinate you first.
Yeah.
That way they can,
Beat you down until you're a piece of shit and then build you back up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I'm just thinking of Hank Hill. They wouldn't take me because I had a narrow urethra.
Or a swirled penis.
That's a duck.
Sorry, Eric.
Eric's like, what have I gotten myself into?
Christine says she became overly protective of my family and friends and neighbors after 9/11. I think a lot of people did. And it got bad. It got bad to where if you were of Middle Eastern descent, you were getting your ass kicked on the street corner, and that really sucked.
That I
mean,
think was not right at all.
But no, I don't think it was right. I mean,
I have a guy when I was back in the beer business that ran one of the stores, and his friend actually got killed. And he was Indian, but
Yeah.
these guys came in the store and shot him because they thought he was Middle Eastern.
There was
It
a lot
was
of
right
that.
during 9/11.
we went and visited your friend, by the way,
Which friend?
the one on Ironwood there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
another
a while
friend.
back.
Come
It
on.
wasn't him. It wasn't Kamal.
No, it wasn't Kamal. It was
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the guy's name because it's been
A
a
minute.
lot of years. But yeah, but he was telling me a story about it. They owned a store together, and somebody came in and shot his friend and
Yeah.
killed him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's bad.
Those
It's
are the
really bad.
people who are asshats and don't need to be here. 'Cause that's not right.
So my question is why? Why does this happen? Why are we doing this?
before we got sidetracked, going back to the question about the suits,
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think that the people like the TSA agent that's working the counter or whatever, I don't think they're the ones that are the suits. I think the suits are, and I don't even know suits. I think it's the politicians and the people that
Right.
work with the politicians that they're the ones that plan all this stuff out. It's bigger than, I mean, the guy that's working behind the desk at TSA, yeah, he probably, this is great. He got a job and
Yeah.
he's
good
got,
job.
good job, good insurance, good benefits. He's just a jerk.
He just follows what he's told.
Yeah. But it's the guys that are in charge of the whole thing. I mean, if you look at all the power grabs they've made since this happened, Obamacare, the whole thing with the sickness that has gone on, maybe I'll slide through.
That was pretty good.
You know, we never saw this stuff before, at least in my, and I hadn't had a great, huge experience of life by that point. I mean, I was in my 20s.
Right.
But, you know, I never saw any of these power grabs before. And if you just look at everything they've done since then, and the more freedoms they've taken away and rights they've taken away. And that's the people, I think, I may be wrong, but I think that's what he's talking about when you're talking about suits, is the people that are up at the top, and not the lowly TSA guy.
Yeah.
And if any TSA workers are offended that are good people, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I should say, yeah.
Get a different job.
Not the same as the uniform. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
You're catch what I'm putting down.
The suits are the higher ups that are running the place, not the people doing the work.
Yeah. It's not the nuts in the nut house. It's the wardens.
Yeah.
For real.
But where was I going with this? I had something until I just thought about it. I thought I kind of get sidetracked tonight a lot.
The suits.
I'm sorry.
No. You
were talking about the suits.
But I wasn't. I was going somewhere else.
You started asking, why does this happen?
Yeah, why? So it goes back to that. It goes back to that statement: never let a good crisis go to waste. Right. So,
and it's real easy when you're creating all the crises. No, it's actually what's that guy's name?
I've never heard that.
You really never heard that?
No, I've never heard that.
What's that guy's name? Saul.
It's a real thing.
Yeah. What's that guy's name?
Saul Goodman.
No.
Sorry, just kidding.
Another good song. No. What's that guy's name? He wrote that whole thing. There's like a whole playbook about this where you don't let Christ. Yeah, Zelensky. That's the guy. I don't know if his name's Saul. Zelensky, whatever his first name is. Yeah, it's just, but that's the whole thing. And if they create the crisis, and it's a lot easier to take advantage of it.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much, but I'll lay out the idea and then let you guys maybe jump off of it if you want. But I mean, essentially, like what I think a lot of the Patriot Act did was it put power into people who were not elected, right, into these different departments and stuff that they're not accountable to American voters, American taxpayers, right? They're just kind of these newly established offices, or these departments really is what they are. But
so are they part of the government, or they sanctioned out?
Yes, but they're not elected, right? They're
okay.
People.
So they're just government jobs.
Department of Homeland Security.
Right. I mean, yeah. So I mean, there's a name for this, right? And I don't necessarily want to say
you're not saying anything.
Yeah, but I mean, this is something that it's well documented, right? That these organizations or these departments are able to exert power. They have influence, right, over the government, because they ultimately report to Congress, they report to whoever, and they make recommendations and all this stuff. But ultimately, like, the guys who are at the head of it aren't elected into their positions. They don't have term limits. They don't have, I mean, really, who creates?
Well, no, because it's a job. It's
a
job. It's not
who creates the job description too. Yeah,
power hungry politicians.
Yeah. So so I mean, that's kind of one thing I think about. And like I said, there's a name for it. I don't necessarily want to talk about it too much. But I think if you guys are,
Oh, Dad says it's Saul Alinsky.
Saul Alinsky.
Yeah.
12 rules for radicals.
That's it right there.
That's it. Okay.
So never let a good crisis go to waste.
Right.
Yeah, you should read about it.
I probably don't need to.
It's amazing. I mean, it's the exact playbook that is followed. So
I mean, it's no worse than, I mean, having a bad car. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you're taking advantage of the situation, but like, you have things that happen, you're going to learn from them. You have trials, you have errors, you have all that stuff. But if you're going to not expedite, you're going to take advantage of the situation, that's where the problem.
But you are, like Shane said, it's a power grab. So they see something like this and they get everything while we can. You know what I mean? The Americans are scared.
Is that why we all bought toilet paper?
Oh, you guys are the ones that bought it all. No wonder I couldn't get
it. No,
any.
we couldn't find any.
Couldn't find any.
I'll tell you what, those corn cobs hurt.
Thought you had
Gotta
duck
put those-
feathers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just put those chicken feathers to use.
Chicken feathers. There you go. That's why you had so many chickens
That's
under
why
the
I've got
barn.
so many chickens right
Shane,
there.
is this Charmin? No, it's chicken.
It's chicken feathers.
Chicken feathers.
Glue them
This-
together.
I'm like, this is nice.
Fluffy.
That's it.
It's so soft.
It's nice until you get the tail end of the feather.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's bad. That's bad. That's not good.
Oh man.
Mm-mm.
That's an itch I have. It doesn't need scratched.
Mhm. That's not good. Okay, so 12 rules for radicals.
Yeah, never let a good crisis go to waste. And that's maybe what we're seeing now. I mean, kind of the same thing, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
I would 100% agree.
it's kind of sad.
But are we surprised?
Old Sears catalog for toilet paper.
Oh,
Lord,
hey, yeah,
I guess
Christine.
that would work.
I can tell you from experience of being a Marine in the infantry, newspapers, that's the only thing they're good for. Whenever you run out of money, yeah, they make good toilet paper. You got more important things to buy when you're a Marine. So,
That's true. Good point.
Like cigarettes?
nah, I'm
I'm
not a
joking.
smoker.
No,
You
it's-
just have better things to buy.
like beer.
That big paycheck they give you.
That 20 cents. Woo!
Are they paying you yet?
Eric's not getting paid.
Me, you'd
the
be
school.
surprised. Actually, no, I actually am active duty, so
What?
All right.
Yeah.
Like for real duty?
for real.
Can't believe
I-
it.
Are they giving
I
you
work-
E1 pay?
No, I'm actually I'm an officer.
Oh,
So.
man,
Yeah.
you're living
He's
the good life.
special. He's special.
I'm the equivalent of like a second lieutenant, I think, in the Marines. So
Okay. Yeah, that's
More
the
than
butter
you.
bars. That's what we would call them.
yep.
Butter bars.
Yeah, I'm a butter bar.
Wow. What are you
Plus-
gonna be? What are you gonna be when you're done?
When I graduate from medical school, I'll be a lieutenant.
And then you have
in the
4 more
Navy.
years.
No, at that point, I mean, so with the military, it's kind of different because you can go do what's called a GMO, General Medical Officer. So in my case, I'm in the Navy, so I could go be on a ship and basically just be like their general doctor,
Yeah.
essentially like the equivalent of like
Internal
maybe like
med.
a primary care, like
Yeah.
a primary care doctor, really. Because
Okay.
but like still with it, like you're not that experienced in a
Yeah.
broad depth of things. So like, but on a ship, you shouldn't see too many
No.
crazy weird illnesses. It's a lot of just like sick call, like, hey, I got a sore
Yeah.
stomach, or hurt my arm, that kind of like just
Cut my
very minor
finger.
stuff.
Cut my finger. Stitch it up. Yeah.
Yeah, Motrin, change your left sock, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Don't
So
slice your
then-
finger in the cutter. Yeah.
Yeah. So then after that, then I would do a residency, which it could be up to 4 years depending on what I want to do. So
So would you be? So once you. So would that be with the military? Or would that be separate?
yeah, no, this
Oh,
is all
cool.
military. Yep.
So you could be at the military hospital or something.
Oh
You
yeah,
could come
that's
to the
where-
VA and come back home.
Yeah, that's what like some of my, well, not my rotations, but people are doing rotations at VA hospitals.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so.
You might
cool.
get to be my doctor someday.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey.
no, absolutely.
Oh boy.
He's gonna be like, "Don't I know
Lucky
you?
you."
Don't you like chickens?"
As long as he's not your proctologist, you're good, I guess.
He'll bring in.
Hey,
some
by the
chicken
way, though,
feathers.
I would encourage listeners and stuff, if you've never listened to or watched like a roll call for fallen soldier. I had the opportunity to watch one recently. It was like over a Zoom call, but for somebody who was at Walter Reed, got deployed, that kind of thing. And I don't know if you've never been able to watch that. I would recommend just kind of maybe in lieu of 9/11, 20 years, that kind of thing. Definitely take a look at one, because I think it puts into perspective. I think maybe not perspective, but it just showing how somber it is for a troop, a soldier to have his name called by, and have his battle buddies and stuff, be present. But then when that name gets called and it's silent, it's like it's deafening, right? Like the
Right.
silence is deafening, that kind of thing. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I think that's what I know. I know we're going to get off topic, but we're already at an hour and a half,
Yeah.
so we can get off topic
We're
if we
close.
want to a little bit. And I should have put a disclaimer that the show was probably going to go long tonight, because having Shane and Eric on, I know we were going to have a lot to talk about. So, it's just sad to me, the state that we're in now. That the military, our police officers, first responders, they're all looked on looked down upon so much. And I get a lot of grief when I say this, but in my heart, I truly believe that the number of people who feel this way is a lot smaller than we really think they are. I think the media, I think all their outlets make them appear to be a much larger group than what they are. And that's just
Isn't
my
that the
opinion.
point?
I could be wrong. But going back to our point earlier about it's going to take the people of this country to fix this country, I think maybe there's a side of us that are nervous because we think that other side is a lot bigger than it is. And we're afraid to make any moves or make any decisions. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but
Well, I think
any thoughts from you guys?
I think the problem is that going back earlier to what I was saying about people buying into what they're told instead of listening. And then you have the mob mentality where
huge.
Instead of having an intelligent debate or conversation about something, it's just automatically insult the people, put them down, do everything because you're right or your way is the right way. And they're not going to listen to anything. They're not going to talk about anything. And I think you see, I mean, you get on any social media platform, you see that stuff all the time. Right. You got the keyboard warriors that are sitting there, but there's a lot of people out there that don't know anything and they want to, but they all get together. And I think that what you're saying is correct. There's that number of people who don't want the cops or don't like the cops and disrespect the military. I think it's a lot smaller than what is made out to be.
Right.
I don't think they're a majority of the country or half the country or anything, but
no, I think
it's that whole mob mentality, and they're the ones that constantly get all the press and the attention and everything.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's that's a great point. And kind of what I was thinking of as you were talking about that was I don't know, the Andy Griffith show, right? He's a sheriff in this town. Everybody knows him. He knows everybody. I think that we are no longer in this kind of we no longer have community, right? Where the police officer is also your neighbor, that kind of thing. I think we've kind of disconnected that we're all humans. Just because he's a cop, it's just a job. You know what I mean? He's still a father. He's still
the same as you going to the bank and working at your job. Same thing. It's a job.
Or same as and honestly, it's the same with soldiers too. The military is a massive organization. Not every person in the military is got bad intentions or is doing things against the rules. But ultimately, I think you have one bad apple ruins the bunch, that kind of thing. Right. But then to the larger point though is there's no longer this community where we can kind of separate the job from the person or separate the opinions from the person. Ultimately, I could disagree with most people on most things, but I can still have a fine conversation, enjoy a meal with them, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't know if this is allowed to be said, but if you look at one of the things that the last year has accomplished is you've taken people away from churches and synagogues, bars, restaurants, places where people meet and discuss things and talk, and there is a sense of community, and they have totally stripped that away.
Well, because what's the best thing? Once you take that away, now you're out on this island by yourself.
Yep.
Are you going to come up with you going to disagree with anybody when you're out there by yourself?
Yeah.
Nope. You're going to go along with everybody else because you want to feel part of a community again. But I want to go back because we have amazing people. So back to salary, the average Arizona TSA person, how much you think they make? Just throw a number out there.
$17.50.
That's what I was going to say.
No,
an hour.
a year.
Oh, would that be
40, 35, 40?
Yeah, something
48.
Like
48.6. The hospital register makes 38. So for $10,000 more a year,
you can be
still wouldn't do
schlub.
Still wouldn't do either one of them. Still wouldn't do it.
Who said that to you?
Our insurance guy.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks for watching.
Thank you, sir.
That's interesting.
Mr. Christopher.
I had a feeling it'd be around 30, 40,000 a year, but
that's not great money.
TSA agents for jobs for kids who are hall monitors in school and grew up and didn't become anybody.
Are you just mad because you were the hall monitor and
no,
they didn't let you in?
Dude, my school was so small we didn't have hall monitors.
There was 4 people in your school and you brought your chickens with you.
It's too cold for chickens there.
That reminds me of when I went to high school.
Your goat with a jacket.
Full suit jacket.
He's like
Vest.
with his little tie. He was the suits.
It was a suit.
We found them.
We found them.
They're in my
hiding in
house.
Shane's backyard.
Yeah.
That reminds me back when I was in high school, they always said that band teachers were failed musicians.
Is that why you couldn't become a band teacher?
Probably. But I didn't really fail as a musician, though.
I think you guys were doing really good, and then
Not
the
my-
Rona went,
not- Not my fault. the
and your
virus
drummer
stopped.
ran away because he wanted to be
I know.
like a doctor.
So I do have to
And
ask
save
you
the
son,
world.
I am going to ask you this question, and I kind of promised people I wasn't going to go here, but I have to because you're in medical school. Okay.
Mhm.
Please tell me you're pro-vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah, I would say so.
Good,
I
because-
think,
I wanted to hear somebody who had a different opposite side than we do and their
No.
take on it, especially somebody who's in the medical field.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I mean, there's like many examples of vaccines that have been shown and proven to be effective, and through years and years, decades of
Research
use.
and training and
Yeah, I mean, not
yeah.
just like
And
it's not just the
tweaking.
research. It's just like for example, polio vaccine, right? Like it's been around for decades now, and I mean, there's evidence, right, that it's
You
Hold
safe,
on,
know,
let him finish.
effective.
I think this
No,
is
it's-
one of the
it's-
best
No.
answers I've ever heard.
I have a question. Do you know how many times the polio vaccine has been changed since the original
You know,
one that came out? Because I know it's been tweaked. I don't know how many times.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's with any. I
Ask
mean,
that guy.
The polio virus.
Christopher Dino.
I'm not sure exactly what type of virus it is, but viruses like they do have.
Well, but they're going to change. That's what I'm saying. I
mutate,
know
yeah.
I know that it's changed and mutated, and I know they've
Yeah.
tweaked the vaccine they
Yeah.
are giving
And,
now
like,
for our
I mean-
troops and stuff. But I don't know how many times
Yeah.
since the original one.
Yeah, and I mean, sort of the way that like vaccines work is like,
Mhm.
like there's like a long either DNA, RNA, right? Well, at least for
Yeah.
these viruses, there's either DNA, RNA, and they've kind of figured out that there's a certain pattern, right, to the code on this DNA or RNA, and if they could take a piece of that pattern and create an antibody for it, right, then it can target that and degrade it, right? And so if
Yeah.
that pattern stays around, even if it replicates
same.
and mutates and stuff, then it's still going to work, right? So it's
Yeah.
only if whatever they're using as the target for the vaccine changes, then they would have to change the
vaccine. Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Beautiful. Thank you.
So the side effects of the vaccine, we all know. I mean, none of us are stupid enough to say, "Oh, no vaccine is going to have side effects." Of course, every vaccine is going to have a side effect. But you start looking at this particular vaccine, and I'm starting to hear more, and they're not stories. It's not stuff I'm hearing on social media. I'm hearing it from
It's
people.
not on TikTok.
Right. I'm hearing it from people that I know specifically. I know we all knew that this virus, the vaccine had what, 80% efficacy or 92% efficacy, whatever
Something like
whatever it was that they gave the rating on it. So we knew there was still a chance you can get the virus. But now I'm really hearing people of getting the virus after they're fully vaccinated and dying. I now know 2 people that this has happened to. So there's a lot of hesitancy, especially on my part and Lindsay's part, I know for a fact, of even getting a vaccine like this, just because we're smart enough to do the research to know that we can do things to our own health to
And
possibly
prophylactics.
Yeah.
prevent us from even getting this, so. But the scary thing is for people that don't know and the people that are hesitant about getting the vaccine, it's a scary thing for them because they see people dying anyway. They see people getting the virus anyway and spreading the virus.
Well, but then they think it's just the non-vaxxers. It's just because that's what they're pushing now is
Well-
it's all
well,
these
they're-
non-vaxxers.
Well, they're in line because it becomes the other problem, you know.
Yes.
But my thing is somebody like you, Eric, who's probably on the forefront of studying this stuff and learning about this stuff. What are your thoughts to ease people's minds? I mean, it is a real thing. It is a real scary thing that people have gotten blood clots. They have died from this vaccine. So, do you agree that the vaccine is not the only answer?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. Like you're talking about, like I don't understand how there has not been a bigger push for like just a healthier lifestyle, right? Like that's the biggest risk factor for dying of COVID is being either obese or
Morbidities.
having a comorbidity. Yeah. So like if you have type 2 diabetes, getting that under control, or if you have, an autoimmune disorder, making sure that you're, doing the best you can to keep your immune system, healthy and from
Well, and
getting
going up-
overwhelmed if you get
Yes.
infected. I don't understand. Like, for example, like the vitamin D thing. Like there's been studies that they
Huge.
looked at the people who died of COVID, looking at their vitamin D levels while they were being treated, and a
Just
vast majority of them were
critically
vitamin D
tanked.
deficient. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
there was a stat that came out, and Shane, I'll get back to your point. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're
and,
fine.
And there was a stat that came out not too long ago, and I don't remember who released it, but they said in 75% of the people that they've done autopsies on, whatever they did, studies on, that have died and been seriously ill from COVID, they say they had
You're not supposed to say the name.
3+ comorbidities. That's not the name I'm afraid of. There's the other name I'll get to in a minute. I'm not going
Oh.
to say, but they say that they at least had 3+ comorbidities.
yeah.
So I guess it's safe to say that not everybody who gets this virus is going to die from it. And in some cases, it is a crapshoot, I guess. I mean, there have been reports of people who are very healthy, didn't have a lot of comorbidities, and still succumbed to the virus, for whatever reason that was. So there's I can't say the word, and I'm not going to say it because YouTube will kill
I
us
love
for it.
Christine.
What?
Put that up.
All right, hold on. Sorry.
Where is she in Arizona? Is she still here, Christine? She's a traveling nurse and she's been working on the COVID units in Arizona and Colorado. She's never gotten vaccinated and stands with those medical staff that won't take the vaccine. Stand with me. There's not a lot of us that are still going to make it to the end.
So there's a drug out, and like I said, we're not gonna talk about
We're
it.
not going to talk about it. We're not going to say it.
We're not gonna bring up the name,
Nope.
but I think you know what it is.
There is
Yeah.
a drug.
It's shown very positive studies over in India, over in other places. I think I was just told by my brother today, that who's in the pharmaceutical industry, that China or Japan, I think it was China,
I don't remember.
just now allowed it to be part of treatment.
Nice.
Right, yep.
For their COVID cases.
Yep.
So
Because England, is it England or somebody's been using it for a while? Maybe Italy. Somebody's been using it a while over there. Mexico itself. That's why they were able to open back up.
So go ahead.
Well, to your point about like comorbidities and stuff, honestly, if you have more than 3 comorbidities, a bad flu, a bad case of pneumnia is going to take you out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
any bad sickness.
Right. So I think but again, that comes down to okay, let's be healthier as a population.
Right.
So that way when we do get sick, we're not, more likely to die, that kind of thing. I don't know. That's not being stressed by our public health officials, which is
not at all. But
to me.
let's look at it's not easy. What's on every corner? A Starbucks, a McDonald's, a Taco Bell. Well, I have 4 kids in the car. Do I really want to go home and cook and make chicken and vegetables? No, I'll just grab McDonald's on the way home.
True.
It's so much easier. So we have made ourselves in this terrible downward spin. There's no way to get out of it. Because honestly, yes, it's great if you actually went and worked out and, did that above and beyond stuff. That's great. But if you just ate a healthy diet and didn't put all of these produced, things into your body, you'd probably be okay.
I think it goes back to the whole thing about instant gratification. It's easier to go pick up a meal than it is to cook. Look at the diet industry in our country. It's easier to take a pill than it is to go to the gym and work out.
Exactly.
And I know
Is there one of those pills? Can I get one of those?
I saw a thing
then I don't have to go with Keith anymore. It'd be great.
I saw a thing on the internet. If there's this pill you can take now, and you could lose 85 pounds in 4 days or something. It just melts the fat away.
Melts it away like butter.
That looks real.
But
Eric,
but about
how do you feel about that?
Hey, do you have any of those pills?
Hear from the internet, it's got to be true. So
absolutely,
you'd be surprised. A lot of medical school is honestly finding a good website that is trusted and vetted.
So hard.
Yeah, but
Wikipedia is the best one, man. Everything on there is true.
Even to find real studies. No, seriously. Even to find real studies, when I've been doing research on stuff, it's so hard to find stuff because you have these ones and you're like, oh, this looks like it's a real study. And you get to the bottom and it's quoted by Wikipedia. And you're like, are you fucking serious? I just read this 20-page paper and you're quoted by, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, but to your point
So
about that,
disheartening.
the drug that shall not be named. I mean, it's a well documented that it's been proven effective for. I mean, not just this virus, but other viruses. And
But
it's one of those. There's medications that have novel um,
effects.
interactions,
Yep.
right? Like novel effects. Yeah, and this is one that it was just kind of happened to be discovered that it
Yes.
had.
HIV
It's
and
yeah, it targets the enzymes for like
malaria or something like that.
I think mostly viruses, like it
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
targets the enzymes needed for replication and stuff,
Right.
and
Right.
Yeah, because
Right.
they're
which is
looking at
it's novel, right? Because
yeah.
I think ivermectin is I
Oh,
think
oh,
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, God damn it, I said it.
He didn't say
damn
it. He didn't
it,
say it. Beep, 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 beep.
Did you say
Yeah,
Tylenol?
He said
Tylenol. Yeah.
Tylenol. Damn it, Eric.
But yeah,
Ah,
we
better
look
you getting them kicked off than me.
uh,
I can say whatever I want.
No, we still have a good chance. Maybe they didn't hear it. They didn't want to
Right.
listen an hour and a half in. They gave up on us.
Yeah, but anyways, like if you look at like the kind of the pharmacology of it, like when it was
Yeah.
first discovered or whatever, like the target that it had, or
Yeah.
that it was originally kind of designed for is it has so much more cross reactivity, and it's just novel, right?
Yes.
Like it's like, how did we
Yeah.
happen to like make this happen? I don't know. So
Just
Yeah.
randomly fell upon it and they were like, hey, it does this too.
hmm
Yep. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm sure you forgot what you were going to say.
No, I absolutely remember.
Okay.
Going back to the
Good.
going back to the vaccine, I was in doctor's office the other day. I don't want to throw my doctor under the bus because
Right.
she's a real cool lady, but I was in, and she was asking me
Was she
about.
trying to give you Tylenol?
Yeah, she was trying to give me Tylenol. No, she was asking me about the vaccine, and she asked if I'd taken it, and I told her I hadn't, and she's like, "Well," she said, "you got to get a booster in 6 to 8 months," and I'm like, "You have to get a booster?" And she's like, "Yeah." She says they haven't got all the research done on it yet, but they're finding that the shots don't last that long, and the research, and of course, I don't think they've done a whole lot of research on something that's only been around for less than a year, but just my opinion. But going on the whole thing of the vaccine, if I can say just a couple things. One is the big thing for me with not wanting to take it is anthrax shots that we had to take in the military that they lied to us about. They give us all these pamphlets about it's a bunch of crap, and those things killed people, and they had terrible side effects, and they made us take 6 of them.
Oh my
And if you didn't
God.
take them, they kicked you out. And I remember being out in the desert taking those overseas, and it felt like your arm was on fire. And
Oh.
I mean, honestly, I don't believe anything they tell you about drugs
So
at
if
all.
you took that, I think you're good. I think you're about to kill anything.
Yeah, it's well, and then they come out later, and the government made them quit giving them. So, like, I've got a friend that I go to this place 5 days a week, and they work there, and they was in the Marine Corps, and they only had to take 2 of them because they made the
'Cause it
government made them
stopped.
quit giving them because there was
Side effects.
nothing, no proof they hadn't tested them, nothing. It's tested them on us,
Right.
and basically that's what. To me, that's what this is. They're just doing this to the American people as a whole.
Right.
Well, we are phase 3 of the drug trials.
Well, and I'm going to be devil's advocate here, not devil's advocate, but I'm actually be pro vaccine for a second. The technology of
Now you're just being the
mRNA,
devil.
mRNA has been around for 10 or 15 years. So that's not a new concept.
No,
This
we
is
just
the first
haven't
time.
made
This is
it
the
in
first time we've
anything
ever
yet.
deployed it into actual human beings.
Yes.
So to know the true effects in the future I think are.
But what
nearly
have we
impossible at
tested
this
it on?
point.
Have we truly tested it on anything?
I'm sure they've done a lot of in vitro work. I'm sure Eric's shaking
Yeah.
his head no. You know,
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm not sure
Like, did we
exactly
kill some
what.
bunnies?
Well, so there's this thing that it's kind of it's been controversial recently. Is like when they do mice studies, right? Like majority of mice used in labs, right, are all come from this one company, and this company, like, basically this one researcher found out something to do with like the DNA in this mice, where it's actually not a great model for humans because it lacks the enzyme, like something to do with like
Yeah.
over the generations and stuff. It's kind of adapted itself to I don't know whether or not it's like lost some of the similarities in kind of the biochemistry of humans or what.
Okay.
But
Well, yeah, you're reproducing the same animal over and over
yeah,
again. It's
so
not
so
going to get
essentially,
stronger.
I think like the conclusion is like we don't know, right? Like
Right.
if we can definitively say like, okay, this worked in these mice, therefore it's going to work in. Like, I don't think that it's I think it's in question right now. But I mean, to that point, I agree. Like it's kind of insane to me that like we are essentially the lab rats, you know.
Mhm.
But
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
Well,
and
just
And then we're the lab rats. Great. Awesome. You want to jump on that boat? You want to be a lab rat? I'm fine with that. I have personally signed up for drug trials for my MS meds, 100%. I've talked to my doctor and said, hey, like, what are we looking at? What are the effects that have happened so far out of the people that have taken it? Okay, sure. I'll do it for a couple weeks. Like, that's fine. I'm not going to take it for 10 years. I'm not
Yeah.
going to, you know what I mean? I want to make sure that it is going to be cycled through my body. That's fine. But you're going to give me something that I don't even have any information on. Like, you try to look this up. I have nothing. No. Like, I want to be informed. First thing you do is you sign that paper saying, I am informed consent while taking this vaccine. I'm not informed. I can't be. That
Mhm.
information isn't out there.
Yeah. I honestly, yeah, and I think it comes down to just the honesty, because like I don't think that we know everything that there is to know about necessarily like the vaccine, right? But they're just not honest and transparent about that, and so they try to like, you know, maybe I don't know if it's even drawing conclusions, or maybe it's like a false sense of hope, you know, that they're giving us. But they just need to be transparent, and I don't think that that's happening. I think that's what a lot
100%.
of I think there's a lot of like doctors who are saying that, but maybe are afraid to be more vocal about it, because that's something that I hear kind of frequently
Just tell us.
in my
Nobody-
in you know, kind of the circles that I operate in or whatever. But like, yeah, I think that's a general sentiment though. It's like we don't know, why are we saying these things are, or that it's going to be the cure or whatever. It's we don't know.
Right. Right.
But we
Okay.
can't. Yeah.
I am loving my new friend.
I want to get back
Just
to
saying.
Dad's point. He said, "What happened on 9/11?" We're talking about. I know.
I know.
I
Welcome to Coffee Table Chronicles. You never start with what you started with.
having Eric on tonight, being a newbie in the medical field. I wanted to get his take on things and Shane's take on things, because Shane did have COVID. You did experience it.
You got the Rona?
no,
He did.
I had it. Yeah.
He did.
It just made me
Oh,
tired. I wanted to sleep
dude,
all
you
the
got the
time.
best enzymes of all of us. Can I have some of your blood?
Antibodies. Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Can you
exactly.
share it with me? Eric, I'll send you some.
It's like vampire
No,
blood.
that
You'll live
natural
forever.
immunity.
Yeah,
Shane,
I don't
got
need to live
we got
forever.
the needles. We got all the equipment. See that
I
room
can
right
do it
there?
all right
We'll
there.
go
We're
over
good.
there.
We're good. I could totally pull it out of
You're
you.
not giving me any vitamins, are you?
I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare.
No, we're gonna give you medication and then make up. You'll be good.
Okay. So back to the polio vaccine.
Oh boy.
What oh boy.
No.
Just remember I asked. So there has been 2 verified forms of the polio vaccine. OPV, which is oral polio virus vaccine, and IPV, which is intravenous polio vaccine. Although there is documentation about Dr. Colmers who tested live vaccines on monkeys and children, and on those results distributed 12,000 doses to almost 700 physicians, which resulted in 10 plus reported cases of paralytic polio following vaccination. In many cases in towns, there were no polio outbreaks had occurred, but there were 6 that were fatal. Military history shows that the vaccinations given to soldiers from Vietnam to Desert Storm showed that soldiers were used for vaccination experimentation. Sorry, Shane.
Oh.
Sorry,
It's
Shane.
that's an interesting case study that we actually had to do, is that whole anthrax thing. Because also what they were doing is, say you deployed, say you're stateside, right? You were given 1 dose, and then you know the recommended time for the second dose was, let's say 3 months, right? And then next thing you know, you deploy and you're overseas for, say, a year, stuff like that, and then you come back and then they say, oh, you didn't get your second vaccine. Well, then they're giving you different lots, different you know, batches, could be even a different manufacturer.
When they're all made from different companies, different warehouses, different, so who knows what's added and what's not. So I was told to ask the Marine about the Marines that were used to test mustard gas. And Eric, I'm supposed to ask you about the Navy medic about the nuclear explosion and the radiation test at Bikini Island.
Shane doesn't remember. He was exposed to too much mustard gas.
Yeah.
He can't remember that.
He was sucking
I
on.
honestly wish I could answer that question. I can't, but
He was sucking on the mustard
Yeah.
gas.
can't answer that question.
He was putting it on his tacos, thinking it was okay.
She's like, mustard. This is on my bratwurst. It's fine.
I would not be surprised at anything the government does
Right.
with people that are in the military, because I mean, basically, you sign your life away to them, and you're a guinea pig for however many years you're in.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know specifically about the Navy corpsmen, but I know like that was like in the years following like Manhattan Project, whatever. Military was the ones they would explode nuclear bombs, and then there's videos of it, right? That they walk towards it, and
They have them sitting out in fields.
it's
see what this does.
See if you live with this. Your face didn't burn off. Okay, you're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Oh, and Shane, also, I actually was able to treat but I was caring for, I should say, a guy who had the anthrax vaccine in the early 2000s, who he had some neurologic deficits. I don't really remember. This was like very early on. I don't remember much of his kind of history, or whatever. But he was just like clearly had some like cognitive, like he regressed cognitively, and it was attributed to a bad anthrax vaccine.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure the government will take good care of him.
Yeah, just treated at Walter Reed.
Let's go back to 9/11.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, you can.
I just got one more thing to say about the whole, and I'm not trying to, I know this isn't about abortion. Right. I'm not trying to make an abortion debate, but I just think it's ironic that the people that are primarily pro-choice in this country won't let you have a choice on what you're putting in your body.
Right.
It is absolutely insane.
I can murder a fetus at 24 weeks that can live on its own.
But you got to take what I tell you to take.
Right.
And once they get the right to make you take something that you have no rights anymore.
Well, that goes
because they can do anything with you.
That goes back to what Aragon said. My dad said, when you give up your rights to make your own choices, we hand over our freedom as well. And that's 100%.
I didn't see that. That's
100% the case.
I will die on that mountain.
So back to 9/11. So thanks guys for your input on that. I didn't mean to sidetrack the whole show by doing that, but I
think we're going to need Eric on a different show.
I think so too. I think it's going to come back up again. So we'll definitely revisit.
Because I have.
Is that one going to be on YouTube also?
No, that'll be just on Rumble.
That
so
will
we'll have you,
probably not make it on YouTube.
The unrated version.
We'll have you back for that one too.
I mean, we could and just see if it makes it.
I didn't know. I didn't want to take that chance. So speaking of which, I before we go on to this next thing, I do want to thank everybody who did jump on tonight. And if you're joining us on Rumble for the first time, please go subscribe and like our page.
Yes, we have a Craving Whiskey on, which is my kind of person.
Awesome. That's awesome. Sure, that's not John or Wendy.
Could be. I don't remember what John's was, but I'm loving the name.
Right, exactly. Also, if you guys are joining us on YouTube, this is our first video that we posted. Maybe our last on YouTube. I don't know after this, but
it may already be off YouTube.
We may already be off.
Wendy can't comment right now, so we might already not listed. But we have Christine, maybe because she was with from the beginning.
Yeah, we're still on YouTube, but maybe not after this video. So anyway, I want to thank you guys. So please go subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Share it with all your friends. We do greatly appreciate that. And I put together a little video tonight that I just want to play real quick.
God, why are you going to do this to me?
In memory of all the people we lost during 9/11. So I really just do want to play that with the 20th anniversary being tomorrow. So we'll do that, and then we'll come back. We'll talk some more about 9/11. So here's the video.
Wow. Yep.
So yes, our hearts do go out to all the families and loved ones who lost somebody on 9/11. It was absolutely a tragic day that we must never forget, or else we're doomed to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
So, so getting back to 9/11, talking about it, we talked about 20 years later how you're still dealing with the military side of it, just trying to come out of a war that's been going on for 20 years. But on the flip side, you get the first responders and everything that were there on that day. They dealt with their share of
You're
medical
good.
challenges. You can Shane had to
Shane
go
had to
get
pee.
a-
It's a long video.
They dealt with their own series of medical challenges, from being around the World Trade Center when it went down. A lot of people.
Oh, I'm sure.
had-
Because how long ago were those buildings built?
They were built
In
probably
the 80s or in the
no,
70s?
probably back.
Oh,
I think the 70s was the Twin Towers is when they were built. But
So you had lots of asbestos.
well, not only that, but you think about it,
all up in the air now. That's great.
when you watch the videos of the towers going down and people running through the streets,
Mhm.
they were just completely covered in
Everything.
ash and everything.
Mhm.
It was like a scene out of Volcano, didn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, honestly. So have you ever talked about that, Eric? Some of the diseases that came about after? I'm sure it was cancer. I'm sure it was lung cancer. and everything
73.
like that.
73.
That's 1973. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't really learned much about it, but I'm sure there's. I mean, if 1973, I'm pretty sure asbestos was still being used.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Lead
I mean,
paint, all that good stuff.
yeah, and that stuff is. I mean, there's definitely. It's definitely like well known that those cause like mesothelioma and like
Yeah.
different types of lung issues, like fibrosis of the lung, those types of things.
Mhm.
But not that I know, I don't think maybe directly attributable to 9/11. I mean, 20 years, it's hard to say if they've actually been able to directly correlate, who was there on that day, had exposure, and then subsequently died due to, I'm
That
not sure that they've looked
exposure.
into it. It'd be interesting though.
Yeah.
And I'm curious too if it would be because I mean, obviously, like it was a massive tax on the healthcare system, right? So I wonder, how many hospitals were being
We're sent
we're
to
seeing,
where
we're treating patients and we're actually like, documenting that kind of
oh
thing.
no, there was no documentation. I'm
Yeah.
sure of that. There's probably just shipping. Okay, you're good. Okay, you can drive out 3 more hospitals because we're closer or whatever. So
Yeah.
lots of triage.
Yeah. Have any of you guys ever been to like the 9/11 memorial since it's kind of been around now? I had the
No.
opportunity to go because I'm in DC, so
Yeah.
it's
Right.
like not too far from here. So had the opportunity to go earlier this year, maybe it was last year.
What was
Recently,
it like?
like man, so I will say this is during COVID. So and like anytime, like especially like DC as well, anytime you try to go to a museum, it's a giant pain in the ass because you have to get a ticket ahead of time. It's scheduled, you know what I mean? And they're like, okay, you have 1 hour. And I
You
mean,
only have 1
like,
hour.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 1 hour. And no joke, we spent 15 minutes just walking through like the first little section because that's where they try to do like the progression, right? Like
Yeah.
they walk you through the day kind of thing. And yeah, in the first 15 minutes that we were there, just getting through that first little section, you're not even in like the bulk of the museum yet. It's there's just so much to see, you know what I mean? So basically, yeah, it sucked going during COVID. But anyways, so by the time we got through all that, they had, I think I sent you some pics of it, Keith. So they have 2 fire trucks and an ambulance there that were buried under the rubble that they pulled out and they have on display.
Mhm.
They've got there's an entire, we basically had to run through because we were being kicked out, but just full of like fire helmets and shirts and shoes. There was like a one wall, it was just all shoes for people
I
who
remember
like
hearing about that. It was all
yeah,
like the fireman's shoes and stuff like that, and
yeah, or
people's
just like
shoes and
people who are trying to run who like
Mhm.
their shoes were slowing them down, so they ditched them. You know what I mean? Um, and then like tons of just like you see this stuff that people left because they were running for their lives. And then they have like the steel beams that were made into the cross
Yeah.
They have that on display. They've got the flag. There's that iconic photo of like the firefighters hoisting up the American flag. That
The
flag
flag
is
on
on
the hill.
display.
I love that
Yeah,
picture. Absolutely
yeah,
love that picture.
yeah. So they've got that flag, and I mean, it's so sobering, right? And then, I mean, luckily, and then once you get outside to actually see like the waterfall, whatever, that's open air, so you can spend as much
Now,
time as you
isn't
want
that
there. But
supposed to be where the towers were, right? And does that go
yeah,
all the way
one of them.
down into the museum?
It doesn't, not into the museum, no, but apparently it sits above. And there was one room that was closed due to COVID, and I'm not sure what's in there. Maybe
Okay.
it like
That's
looks
where
up into it.
they go into. Okay, because I'm like, I
Maybe
don't. It looks like it goes down into something, but I didn't know what was down there.
no, yeah. From what I saw, there was nothing there. But they also have like there's several rooms that have like a different theme, right? And there is one that's like basically all of the like um there was like like the people who died. There was one
Mhm.
of like there was apparently like some chopper thing where like I don't know if like a bunch of people were on motorcycles that day or something and were like responding with there was like all these motorcycles that were on display, and I kind of forget the point of that. But then the one that was really interesting was they have this mural, and there's like 2,993 different shades of blue for every person who died,
Right.
and it makes this like really just beautiful mural that like that was very memorable. You'd have to see it to kind of
I just brought over a couple of the pictures that you sent me because I didn't realize you sent them to me. So
Yeah.
I'd like to put them up.
And
If you wanna.
I wasn't laughing at anything you were saying. There's a pit bull behind me snoring, and you hear,
Snoring.
and I was trying to figure out what the hell is
Yeah.
going on. Were we being attacked or something?
That's funny.
Yeah,
So here's the first picture that I want to put up.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was obviously that was one of the fire trucks that got
Yeah.
smashed.
Yeah. So yeah, and this is you can't see it, I guess, from this angle, but there's also like the antenna, and I think it was like the antenna fell on this. One of the antennas that was on the top of one of the towers, I believe, fell on this truck.
Oh wow.
And it just got smashed. Yeah, and I want to say also there was a photo on display, but I don't think I took a picture of the photo. So that showed it like on September 11th in the street, and then now it's in the museum, destroyed. So
Right.
yeah, the next one, yeah, that one, that's a different truck, and this one just burnt up.
Yeah.
Which crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and you can kind of see like this room here. This is that cross I was talking about, and there's all these different just artifacts and stuff that people left. Either they had family members who died, like, and a lot of it too is also like photos, like have you seen this person,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. People trying to find their loved ones and stuff. This room was, like I said, we had to basically run through it. But when I saw that, I was like, man, I have to get a photo of that.
Yeah, that's crazy. The other picture you sent, I don't know if it'll come through because it was pretty dark. So I didn't upload that one.
Gotcha.
But yeah, these three that's crazy. So what was your? I mean, for somebody like you who was thousands of miles away and very young when it happened, what was your feelings when you were walking through there? What kind of feeling came over you?
Man, well, they do a good job of having lots of like video and audio playing and stuff, and
Right.
so it is very much like a sensory overload. It's kind of overwhelming. I mean, it's definitely overwhelming, and being there and kind of realizing like where you are and what happened there. I've never been to Auschwitz, but I'd imagine it's similar to that, where it's like you don't have to be, you didn't have to be there to understand how horrific it was. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then just walking through, seeing all the artifacts and stuff, it's just it's very saddening, right? And then the shoes, like the photos, that they add all these things that, I mean, it really puts into perspective like the terror of that day. You know what I mean? And just like the just how it makes it real, right?
Right.
It really it makes it like real life, and it definitely, like, it definitely made it kind of come alive for me walking through there. And then once you go outside and you see this massive pit, that's kind of what it's meant to be. Is it's meant to show that there's a void, right? And yeah, it's very, very moving for sure. So
and to see what 3,000 names written on the wall.
Mhm.
I mean, that
Did they put
surrounds those
everybody's name
ponds.
on there from
I-
September 11th?
I can't
or
answer
just the
that. I
people
would
who lived
imagine
in
they
the Twin
would.
Tower? I don't know.
I don't know.
I yeah. I'm not sure if they I'm not sure if they actually were able to account for everybody.
Right.
I'm not sure that they were able to confirm like all 290,
Everybody's, yeah.
like 2,993, whatever,
Yeah.
all of their identities. But
And the sad thing is, I watch a lot of interviews with people, with families who dealt with, the whole 9/11 thing.
Mhm.
And a lot of people still don't have, for what you said, they couldn't identify everybody.
That
So there's
closure.
people that don't have closure,
mhm.
and I don't know if I know a lot of people that said, even though we went to war, we made them pay the price for what they did, or did we? They still don't feel like justice has been served. And that's hard for me to comprehend, just because I'm not in that position. But I think we went over and did what we should have done. We got rid of bin Laden, we took out, and I think up until recently we had it pretty well under control.
Yep.
Mhm.
So that's kind of scary to think about too, because it's like,
Now what?
they're just waiting for the
Oh yeah.
opportunity.
Do you think they're gonna stop
mean,
hating us?
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Come on,
So,
really?
the other thing I have a hard time wrapping my head around, and I don't want to get too much into conspiracy theories, but I know Shane just itching over there.
We've already said certain things, so we're probably off YouTube already.
No, but it's stories that have come up. It's nothing new. It's been talked about. It's been talked about over the 20 years.
Yeah.
But I guess I have a hard time comprehending why it would be a conspiracy by our own government to make something like this happen. I mean, 3,000 people are dead.
What was the purpose for it?
Right. Well, I mean,
To go to war?
Did it start this whole chain reaction to where they started taking our freedoms away because of this?
I mean, that's what I. But
what our freedoms have been taken away before that.
Not like this.
Not like this. Not to this extent.
No, but I don't. Well,
like I said, if you manufacture a big enough catastrophe where people feel like they're not safe anymore, then you have an easier time taking the freedoms away.
Thanks, Christine.
Okay, thanks.
We're still on YouTube.
Until now. Nope.
Point.
Oh, I want to say something so bad.
I can't say much, but I'll say this. And look into Operation not Mockingbird, Operation Northwoods, because it's and just Google it. It doesn't take very much. It's declassified, but it kind of gives you an idea of what the powers that be, how they think, I guess.
I'm typing that in the comments so I don't lose that. Thank you.
Just to going back to that.
Why is he gonna get me in trouble? Golly gee.
If you go back even further, like back to the Branch Davidians, why did they kill those people? Those people, if you go back and actually watch video that they had of the people were begging to get out of there and the government wouldn't let them out. And there's satellite video of those people, the government going in and just killing those people. I mean, they was running over them with tanks. They're shooting machine guns. I mean, it was not a
attack.
Yeah, it was. They set everything up like that. And I'm not a big, David Koresh was a great guy or anything. The guy was a pervert, but it's just the government doesn't have any respect for human life. And I mean, they'll send how many people to war? They pass laws where we abort how many babies. I mean, they don't care. We're just here to
population control.
We're sheep. We go to work, we make money, we
give it to them,
and then they spend it. And we're just here for them. They have power over us. And if there were fewer of us, it'd probably be better for them, which I think is eventually the
goal.
The goal.
From certain documents from 2012, from certain people in certain places.
None of that was bad, was it? I hope not.
No, it's like I said, it's not anything that hasn't been said before. And you can find it on all kinds of shows that have been out there on Netflix and YouTube and everything that talks about conspiracy theories. People thrive on conspiracy theories, but it's just it's just hard. I don't know. It's just hard for me to fathom that. I guess
that's the thing. I mean, that's a fair. I was just getting ready with that. It's hard to believe that your government would do that to you.
Right.
So it makes it more. Most people have a hard time thinking that.
Right.
And well, okay, some people do.
Keith
Keith
does
has a hard time, but it is hard to buy into because you want to think that the government.
You want to think
there
that they're trying to protect you. They're
No,
your
see, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. I don't think that at all. I don't think they. I think there's. I think money talks.
Yeah.
And
you don't think they'd mass genocide everybody?
And it's even hypocritical for me to say, because you look at Hitler and what happened. I say that with him. I guess it's more, I wouldn't think would happen in our own country, more or less.
In a free country.
There are people that have lots of money in this country,
right?
Have a lot of influence over government that want to destroy this country. And I guarantee you, to see 3,000 people wiped out is a drop in the bucket compared to what they'd like to see.
Well, now we just kill millions of people, but that's beside the point. But
I could say some names if you want them, but
yeah, I was just say like same. I'm like there's stuff I want to say. I just
you're itching,
Eric, you're killing me right now.
I don't want you to get in trouble, Eric.
Oh
that's
my
for sure.
God.
That's not why I'm bringing this up at all. But you know, this
Eric,
is
just sit there and shut up.
Here,
Like
I can just give you some clues. One guy's a Hungarian Jew. One guy has a lot to do with computers.
And one guy has a lot of goats.
Nah, I just want people to stay away from my property. That's all.
That's why you have attack goats.
Yes,
they're out there learning.
The guy Shane's talking
Kung
about
Fu.
probably does stuff with goats, but there's
both of them.
Hey! Don't you try to bring innocent goats into
Yeah, the
this.
goats did nothing to you.
I didn't do anything to you. This is not a duck snuff film.
Oh, this is going off the rails now.
The Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks. Mighty Ducks too.
But going back, so I guess
Against one. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I'm so sorry. We'll tell you after, Eric. It is 100% inappropriate.
Yeah, you have to stay on. You have to stay after the show. Matter of fact, we're gonna start to wrap this up a little bit. But
wow, that's a lot of. Okay.
Is this our insurance guy again?
Yes, this is my insurance guy. Dude, you're gonna have to be on this fucking show. Like, no joke.
I want to know something. Our rates aren't going up now after this, right? For providing all this information to us. I just want to know.
Our rates already going up because they have to fix our roof. Okay, the James, I'm 100% reading this. I have not proofread this, so I hope it's not terrible. The James Zadroga. God, I know I massacred that. ZADROGA 9/11 Health and Compensation Act of 2010 provided aid for first responders, volunteers, and survivors of the 9/11 attacks. Comedian Jon Stewart has been the main advocate and face of the movement for the fund. That he dedicated an entire episode of The Daily Show to fight the political battle of the Zaroga Act. The coverage expired on 10/1/15, and Jon Stewart appeared before Congress, and with his speech, he got the coverage extended 75 years. In the beginning of 2016, the tyranny.
Now we're really
the Treasury Department.
Wow,
not even.
Hey, wait,
close.
Tyranny Department. That's fair.
Hey.
Right,
The Treasury Department withheld payments.
You know, some little YouTube nerds just freaking out right now. He's sitting there. No, they gotta get off here. They can't say this.
Stop.
Eject.
Hit the red button.
Go.
They said duck snuff film. Get them off. Okay. In the beginning of 2016, the Treasury Department withheld payments from the FDNY World Trade Center health program established by the Zaroga Act. New York City was using the funds to pay the Department of Health and Human Services, which was not the intended purpose of these funds. By the time this was revealed in 2020, about $3.7 million have been withheld from the FDNY program. And that goes to the first part of it when we were talking about if we think any of our first responders got sick from the World Trade Center. So it said a study published in 2019 found that first responders have had an elevated risk of certain cancers, including 25% increased risk of prostate cancer and doubling in the risk of thyroid cancer and a 41% increase in leukemia compared to the general population. So that's about right because all that stuff gets in your blood. I'm surprised there's not more lung cancers in there though.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought would have been probably
Because
the
you're
number
breathing all
one,
that in, but
right?
essentially once those toxins are in your body, it's however your lung disperses them.
True.
So I mean,
Yeah.
that prostate cancer. I mean, I don't know what you were doing. Saying.
Yeah.
Well, it just formulated into a different type of cancer, and it's all it did.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
just
that's how your
moved.
body. Yeah,
I mean, cancer
exactly.
is just cells growing
Right.
in a place they shouldn't be growing. So
Oh boy. All right, we gotta start wrapping it up. So, yeah, it's sad. This could be a 4-hour show if we wanted to, but yeah, Eric and Shane, we're gonna have you guys back on for another episode for sure.
Shane
to talk about
is only a pure Rumble show, and I think Eric
Yes.
might need to be too.
I think so too.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I think you need to have me and Eric on for a pure Rumble show. That would be
Rumble
great.
show,
Oh
right?
Lord,
Yeah,
baby Jesus, that'd be a 5-hour show.
But Eric has to be careful what he says, though. 'cause
Yeah,
he
Eric is
he active
restricted.
in the military, so I don't want to get him in
Yeah.
trouble at all. But
Maybe we can put him in a Halloween mask and change his name in an undisclosed location.
Undisclosed
Right.
bunker.
right
There you
There you go.
Hey, just make sure to take the Arizona flag down so they don't know where you're from.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I realize now I could have put a different name too. So that way on my
That's
little screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have.
So now you can come back as like Dr. Ass Hat or something. Nobody will know who
Yeah,
you
there
are.
you
We'll
go.
change
Come
your.
back. You could do a Halloween show. You could be Michael Myers. Just get a
There
mask.
you go.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, that'd
See,
work.
we could work this. Nobody knows. We'll change your voice. Get your voice changed. You'll be fine.
Just be creative. Put on a cool COVID mask or something. you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Be a virus.
Yeah, but that's it. I can see him with a big virus on his head, right? That's a big spike sticking out
I just
everywhere.
came up with the best Halloween costume.
I'm
Hey,
sure.
everybody will stay away from you.
I bet,
You won't get any
Exactly. That's
candy.
just what I want in life.
there you go.
Be
I
a
bet you it's
zombie
already,
virus.
I bet you it's already out there. So.
Sure it is.
Right.
But no, but I definitely, Eric, thanks for jumping on tonight, and Shane, thanks for coming here right from work, and then you got your 4.5-hour drive home. I know, and it really sucks. But you grabbed the tissue earlier. You weren't crying, were you? Did we really upset you with this?
Just a little bit.
It was the goat comment, wasn't it?
It just reminded me of what happened to my duck.
I know you're a little sentimental about your
Oh
duck.
boy,
Shouldn't have left her with two.
That's
Shouldn't have left her
interesting.
with 2 boys. Should have been fine.
You're right. So, and go ahead. Sorry, Eric.
Oh no, it's just say thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
We miss you, man.
Yeah,
we
good
miss,
seeing you, dude.
We miss hanging out with you, and I knew you'd be perfect for this episode because the little bit we got to talk when we did play music together, I was fascinated by your take on a lot of things. And
Mhm.
I didn't mean to sidetrack on the whole virus thing, but I figured
No.
I wanted your perspective on it, just because
Yeah,
you're
no,
kind of
absolutely.
knee deep in it. So I do appreciate your comments on that.
Yeah.
But
And thank you for doing what you do.
yes, yeah, and thank you, Shane, for your service, and thank you to all the military men and women out there that
Absolutely.
serve in our police and our
First responders, all that. Everybody
You
who
know.
was there that day who jumped in and helped and changed people's lives. I mean, I know people's lives got taken, like that guy you were talking about for helping people, but how many people did he get out? I mean, if he was able to save 3,
Right.
that's amazing.
But
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about something. I remember that day watching all them people because they couldn't drive walking across that bridge.
oh yeah,
It was freaking crazy seeing all those people coming out of the city and going, walking to their homes.
Yep.
It was it's
it's
crazy,
surreal, man.
Yeah.
It's you look
Well,
at it,
nobody really lives down there. It's all you go there
Yeah.
for work and then you go live somewhere else.
but all transportation was stopped. It was shut down.
Everything. No bus, no subways,
yeah.
no nothing.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. But it goes back to the point I said earlier. We demonize our police. We ridicule nurses, doctors. Our military. Even our National Guard. How they were treated just recently. Trying to keep peace and being spit on and yelled at and cussed at right up in their face. The resolve you have to forget it. There's no way I could do it, but I'd be punching somebody in the face. But
Throat punching all day long.
The thing is, it goes back to what I said earlier. You asked me, could I jump? Could I go into the building and rescue people? I think it's easy to armchair quarterback. I think it's easy to talk shit about people. But when it comes down to putting your life on the line, which our police, our military, our doctors, nurses, they do it on a daily basis. They choose to do this. I get that. But still, you have to have a certain mentality, a certain mindset to be able to choose to do this, to make this your passion, to make this your career. And for us to sit there and demonize them for it, for what they do, like we all talked about, there's always going to be a bad apple in the bunch. It's just the way it works. It's that way in any profession, any way of life. It's that way. It shouldn't ruin it for the rest of the people that truly, truly live to serve. And, you know, for that, I'm deeply appreciative of everybody for what you guys do, for putting your life on the line, for the hell that you go through. And it's things like this, September 11th, that really needs to bring us back and realize what these people do and what they've done, you know, selflessly, you know, put their lives on the line, died even, you know, trying to rescue their partners, their friends, their people they don't even know. People that on another day, you know, may ridicule you for something or call you an asshole, but you know what, that day they put all that aside. And I think that recognizing that and not trying to erase our goddamn history, which pisses me off, we got to remember this. We got to remember these days, because I think if we had more mindset like that, we could turn our country around. We could get back to the way it used to be. I honestly believe that.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
I'll get off my soapbox now.
You done now?
I am done.
Okay.
I am done. But truly, our hearts go out, you know, to anybody who lost a loved one on 9/11. This will be in our minds forever. We'll never forget about it. We'll never let people forget about it, because I have no problem doing a show like this every year to remind people of what happened and to try to bring people together. So
don't let your kids, your grandkids, your cousins, your nieces, your nephews, don't let any of them forget about it.
And teach future generations about it. Let them know, like what your cousins do. You know, let them know. Let them understand this is what happened.
It's okay.
Right. Right. Exactly. So
real quick on that point, my parents after 9/11, you know, like all the newspapers, every newspaper, you know, front page, there's photos of you know, the towers and everything, and they have stacks of them still.
I do too.
Like, yeah.
Oh, I should have brought mine out.
Yeah, and every once in a while, you know, like when I'm home or whatever, I'll whip them out, and you know, you just look, because it just kind of, you know, it's right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a way to kind of not necessarily relive, but to remember, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what's important. Yeah.
You're right. Nobody wants to relive it. Nobody wants to, you know, who wants to be reminded of that day? But we have to be. We have to be, because what's happening now is going to continue to happen unless we're reminded of days like that. And it's sad. It's sad that it takes an event like that to bring people together and to make people patriotic. But
it's the same as the Holocaust.
Right.
And they're taking that out of the history books now.
Right.
I wonder why.
Which actually, our lovely Governor Ducey just passed
Am I going to like him right now?
Yes. He actually passed a executive order here that schools must teach about the Holocaust.
Fuck yes. Dude, I didn't like him to begin with, but he's really coming back around on me.
Yeah, he's doing
like
some
he's
stuff.
he's working it in.
It kind of helps that there's a re-election coming up too. But you know,
that's probably true too. But I don't
That's
care.
the
Like
Gotta make your voter
that's
base
pretty.
happy.
right, exactly.
Well, yeah, no, there's already another dude that's out there that's siding with all the nurses, so I think he's pretty good off.
Yeah.
So you better watch out. You get all the nurses on your side, you know you're in trouble now.
Yep. So yeah, on that note, we're gonna bring this to a close. Eric, hang on there for a little bit until we go out. I want to come back on and talk to you for a minute. So, but yeah, thanks for jumping on with us tonight. Lindsay's about to fall asleep.
Sorry.
And for those of you that stuck with us the entire 2 hours, we really appreciate it. We
Thank
know
you.
2 hours and
oh my God, Wendy just made it on Rumble.
Wendy,
you just made it. Hi, Wendy.
and we're signing off.
But now she knows where we are.
But that's okay. That's okay.
She couldn't get on YouTube. That's why she was worried. I was worried we were off YouTube. She couldn't get on YouTube.
Okay.
It wouldn't let her on. So I sent her the link and now she's on. So
Got
yay. We're leaving, Wendy. Welcome for joining us for 38 seconds.
But please go back and rewatch it and share it with all your friends. And please don't forget, if you haven't subscribed or give us a rumble. Give us a rumble on Rumble. And you can find us here every Friday at 7:00 with interesting topics like this. Who knows what we're going to talk about next week, as John and Wendy are back next week. So
give us a rumble.
Give us a rumble. And yeah, so that's it. So please.
Wendy had so much to say. Well, you missed it. That's what happens when you're late.
be sure to take the time tomorrow, watch some programs they have on 9/11 and
Cry a lot.
cry a lot. And
Yeah.
please keep our military, our first responders, and our police in your prayers for what they do for us every day. And thank you guys.
And don't hate them for standing for what they believe in.
Absolutely. Don't hate anybody for standing what you believe. That's why we live in America. So
We live in America.
America.
I live in America.
America.
God
So-
bless America.
on that note,
Actually,
Eric,
Shane should say that.
thanks
I
for
live
joining.
in America.
There you go. With
Hi,
some
Mom. I made it onto YouTube.
And I got kicked off YouTube.
God bless America.
I got my friends kicked off the YouTube.
Great job,
Awesome.
Shane.
No, that was actually Eric's doing. But
Right.
Right.
Alrighty.
All right, Eric,
Eric,
stick around. We'll see you soon, buddy. And thanks for coming on with us tonight.
Thank you.
And
All right.
all right, we'll talk to you in a few. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Sorry it went over so long. We had a lot to talk about. I knew we were going to have a lot to talk about tonight, but we appreciate you guys hanging with us. And until next Friday, this has been Coffee Table Chronicles. And happy anniversary to 9/11. Not that it was a happy day, but it is one that we need to remember. So,
Yep.
On that, God bless America. Thank you to all our veterans, our police, and our
First responders,
responders.
nurses, all that good stuff.
and stay safe out there, everybody. And we'll see you guys next Friday.
Bye.
Bye.